Chapter 3595. At this moment, Lei Tianshi was standing in the middle of a planet, setting up many restrictions. On the other side of the planet, Ziqin, who was only a one-star saint spirit, was working with the other three races to seal the demon spirit dragon. Ziqin's sudden appearance gave Lei Tianshi a fright. "Why are you here?" Lei Tianshi was stunned. Then he realized something was wrong. "No, you're not Ziqin." Shui Wu stood on Lei Tianshi's shoulder and looked at Ziqin cautiously. "Don't waste time here. Come with me." Ziqin shot an immortal light into Lei Tianshi's body. Lei Tianshi's aura skyrocketed. Soon, he became an immortal, just like Leilon. Sensing the change in his cultivation, Lei Tianshi asked excitedly, "What's going on?" "Come with me. I'll explain it to you on the way." Compared to the excited Lei Tianshi, Shui Wu's eyes were still full of caution. Ziqin continued to walk in the river of time. He found Tyrant, Demon Ape, Su Mengyao, Lin Shui, and the others. After finding them, Ziqin used his own strength to help them reach the immortal realm. All of them were immortals, the strongest in the saint spirit world. Even powerful saint sovereigns had to greet them politely. After that, Ziqin returned to the Tianwu continent, ready to develop this place. After all, this was where his roots were. In the eyes of the immortal city's ruler, the 18 soul lights were constantly intersecting, forming a vortex that grew bigger and bigger. At the center of the vortex, a faint black light could be seen. That was a crack to another world. At this moment, it was being torn apart by a mysterious force, as if it could break open at any time. The ruler's expression became more and more excited. His complacent laughter could be heard everywhere. The 18 people, including Ziqin, stood there motionless like puppets. At this moment, in another mysterious space, there were several people standing there. These people's auras were restrained, but they still made this space unstable. If the city lord could see the outside world, he would definitely discover that these people were standing right in his path. The only way to open the passageway to the immortal world was through this place. Among these people, there was only one that Ziqin recognized. He was Lei Zhenke. Back then, it was him and Senior Lei Di who had brought him back to the Holy Thunder Clan. It was said that the other party was from the previous era and was known as the strongest person in the Holy Thunder Clan. Beside him stood a black-robed old man from the sacred shadow sky. The black-robed old man looked at the distorted space below and asked, "Right now, we can only look here and can't see what's happening below. Are you sure there's no problem?" Recalling the news he had just received, Lei Zhenke said, "There shouldn't be any problems. Even now, you still haven't told me who that person is?" The black-robed old man asked again. Lei Zhenke said, "In the distant past, they are all old friends." There was obvious curiosity in the eyes of the others, but Lei Zhen clearly had no intention of explaining. It was already extremely rare for him to say the words, "old friend." If even the Holy Shadow Sky couldn't find out about this, it could be seen that this was a true ancient existence. But would things really go smoothly this time? Ziqin was still galloping in his own world. Here he was invincible. His friends were also invincible. Every day he would drink tea and chat, accompany Su Mengyao and the others to walk around the Saint Spirit realm. This was the life he yearned for the most. There was no need to cultivate, no need to deceive each other, no need to compete for benefits, only their own interests and leisure. Ziqin enjoyed this kind of life very much, so he didn't feel tired of it, until one day he met a person. The other party was also an immortal and he knew him. This made his expression change. After seeing Ziqin, the other party seemed to be greatly relieved and said, "I finally found you." "You are the leader of the star race back then." Ziqin looked at the other party. Of course, he wouldn't forget that the turning point of his life was that adventure, which ultimately led to his current realm. Back then, the leader of the star race Xingwuhen said, "So, in your eyes, many years have passed. Time flies. It has been at least 10,000 years since that day. Zichen said, there was only one opportunity back then, and I have taken it all. How can you still become an immortal? Xing Wuhen smiled bitterly when he heard this. Immortal? In fact, I am still a 6-star sacred spirit. Impossible. Zichen cried out involuntarily. You are obviously an immortal. Use your pupil technique and look at me carefully. Zichen's eyes flashed. He hadn't used the Eye of Destruction for many years, because he was invincible and no one dared to challenge him. In this eye that could see through all illusions, Xing Wuhen was still an immortal. You are joking with me, right? The light in Zichen's eyes disappeared, and he said with dissatisfaction, It seems that you are too confident in yourself. Xing Wuhen pointed to his heart and said, Now, please forget your unique pupil technique. Touch here, ask yourself, and use your heart to perceive everything. What do you mean? Zichen asked. Use your heart to perceive my realm. Xing Wuhen suddenly said anxiously, Hurry up, I don't have much time. You want to sneak up on me? Zichen said. If you want, I can break my arms now. Xing Wuhen said in a deep voice. Zichen, quickly ask yourself. I don't have much time, and neither do you. Zichen closed his eyes, but he soon opened them again, because he didn't know where to start. Xing Wuhen said again, You are still rational even now. This is very inconceivable, because you are only at the 4-star realm. But I believe that you who have such a powerful soul must have warned you in the depths of your soul. Those warnings were just ignored by you. Now that you think about it, it makes you feel uncomfortable. Zichen began to ask himself. The first time he felt uncomfortable was the first time he saw himself. At that time, his eyes were full of vigilance. Even when he saved Lei Wuxing, his vigilance was still the same. Now that he thought about it, other than vigilance, there seemed to be some other emotion in his eyes. Or was it a warning? Apart from that, the second time he felt uncomfortable was when he saw Xue Wu. Before Xue Wu was born, the essence blood it absorbed almost took away half of Zichen's life. Their souls were closely connected. According to Xue Wu's perception, of course it knew that he was Zichen. But Zichen didn't see joy or excitement in its eyes, only vigilance. Or rather, it was a warning. He thought it was vigilance. After asking himself, Zichen quickly began to trace back to the source, and then he thought of an even more important point. Where was the ruler of the immortal city? He was the instigator of this incident. Then where was he? What benefits did he get? In an instant, Zichen woke up. Chapter 3596. After Xing Wuhen's reminder, Zichen finally came to his senses. The ruler of the immortal city laughed so harshly. At this moment, Zichen discovered that his soul and body had been separated. He was floating in the sky with 17 other soul auras beside him. One of them was Xing Wuhen. What do you see? Xing Wuhen asked, using soul voice transmission. I see bones. Zichen said, countless bones under the platform. Zichen's doubts had been answered. The natives he had not seen for a long time were all dead. The soul power they had absorbed earlier was not the power of the soul-gathering crystal mine, but the souls of the dead natives. No wonder there were all kinds of negative emotions. In the center of the vortex, formed by the soul power, a black dot of light appeared. In that black dot of light was an endless void, as if it was opening a passage to another world. Perhaps they could really reach the immortal world from here. But the scene described by the ruler of the immortal city was all fake. There was no beautiful future. They were just sacrifices after opening the passage. Feel your soul. Xing Wuhen transmitted again. Zichen carefully sensed the state of his soul, and then his mind shook violently. At this moment, the ruler of the immortal city looked up at the sky. The smile on his face disappeared, and there was a look of doubt in his eyes. His senses are very sharp. Don't show any flaws. Xing Wuhen warned again. Zi Chen's mind was incomparably shaken because he discovered that his soul was actually in a complete state. Or rather, it was in a complete state. Under such circumstances, if he died, it would mean that he was completely dead. It was obviously different from the Holy Spirits from before. There was no possibility of resurrection after this death. At this moment in the Tianwu world, Zi Chen's lush green world was rapidly losing the energy of heaven and earth, and it was becoming dilapidated. Even though there were countless spirit trees gathering spirit energy for it, the world was still rapidly deteriorating. The laws of this place had become very chaotic, and all kinds of strange phenomena were occurring. Storms, lightning, and endless seawater poured in. Panic spread throughout the city. Lena walked out, sensing the changes in the world. Her eyes were filled with worry. On the other side, Lei Zhenghong immediately walked out of the room. The changes in Zi Chen's world helped him see this place clearly. The world has become like this. Looks like that guy is in danger. He might even die because of this. Lei Zhenghong became excited. He secretly thought about what method he should use next to explore the secrets of this world. In other words, he could take this opportunity to take this world for himself. Knowing the situation he was in, Zi Chen's expression turned ugly. He hadn't expected that the ruler of the immortal city would have such a remarkable ability to forcefully summon his soul to this place. So, out of the 18 people, only the 2 of them were conscious. Although the souls of the others still exist, they have already lost their consciousness. It could be said that they are already dead. Xing Wuhen said, but we still have a chance. Zi Chen's mind was rapidly searching for a way to defeat the enemy. Do you have a pseudo-venerable seal on you? Xing Wuhen asked. Only then did Zi Chen realize that when he first came in, Lei Wuxing had given him a life-saving item. As expected, Brother Wuxing still thinks highly of you. Sensing Zi Chen's soul fluctuation, Xing Wuhen said, I also have one on me. If we join forces, we should be able to break through this situation. But before that, I need you to agree to a condition. What condition? Zi Chen asked. I have a younger brother called Xingye. If you have the chance, I hope you can go to the Sacred Planet Clan to see him. These words sounded more like his last words. Zi Chen's soul was looking at him. Don't think too much. He doesn't have many friends, but he's not a bad person. I think you two might be able to become friends. Xing Wuhen's voice sounded very relaxed. My only brother is extremely talented. As his elder brother, I can't even compare to 1/10 of him, so I'm very proud. I hope he can have a friend like you. Zi Chen nodded and said, If I have the chance, I will go. Good. Listen to my arrangements. When this space is completely open, our souls will return together and activate the pseudo-venerable seal. Zi Chen nodded again. Now, all that was left was to wait. Because of the strange fluctuations from before, the immortal city lord no longer laughed. Instead, he stared nervously at the sky. At this point, he naturally didn't want any accidents to happen. This was a matter of great importance. There couldn't be any mistakes. Fortunately, the fluctuations disappeared. The 18 souls entwined together and gathered in the vortex. The black light in the center of the vortex began to expand, and a real passage appeared. The immortal city lord became even more nervous. Zi Chen and Xing Wuhen were the same. The black passage was expanding, and it could already accommodate 1 person. Zi Chen's soul began to weaken, as if there was an invisible force that was destroying his consciousness. This caused him to become somewhat vigilant in his heart. Don't panic, Xing Wuhen reminded again. You must stay calm. We only have 1 chance. 1 and only chance. Zi Chen could hear that Xing Wuhen's soul was also weakening. As the passage expanded, Zi Chen's soul aura became even weaker. His consciousness could disappear at any time. He felt that he couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, a ray of light appeared in the black passage. It's the immortal world. It's really connected to the immortal world. The immortal city, Lord's excited voice sounded again. Return. At this moment, Xing Wuhan's voice sounded. His soul instantly returned and activated the pseudo-venerable seal. When Zichen heard this and reacted, Xing Wuhan's soul had already returned and was ready to attack. A real star appeared in front of his eyes, carrying with it a terrifying aura as it whizzed forward. Space distorted as if it was being torn apart by a strange force. You're courting death. The immortal city, Lord, sensed the abnormality and shouted angrily. A ray of light lit up on the platform under Xing Wuhan's feet. Then, long spikes grew out of the immortal king armor on his body. Poof! 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 The long spikes pierced through Xing Wuhan's body in an instant. There were close to 100 of them, completely piercing through his body. However, the Xing Qin didn't stop. It whistled forward and hit the immortal city lord. A defensive light shield appeared in front of the immortal city lord, blocking the Xing Qin. I didn't expect you to be able to wake up. However, the passage is about to form. It's useless to have you. As he spoke, the immortal city lord's face gradually turned pale. Clearly, resisting the Xing Chen's attack had consumed a lot of his energy. After all, it was equivalent to an attack from a sacred venerate. Even if it was suppressed by the rules here, it was still equivalent to an attack from a 9-star saint spirit. Even he who was truly invincible felt strained. At this moment, another powerful aura came from the other side. Chapter 3597. By the time Xing Wuhan's soul returned to warn Zichen, it was already too late. As a result, Zichen successfully missed the other party's counterattack. Just as the immortal city lord was careless while blocking Xing Wuhan's attack, Zichen, whose soul had returned, activated the pseudo-venerable seal. The bracelet on his wrist shattered into pieces, and a ray of lightning shot out from it, heading straight for Qin Nan. Zichen's eyes lit up. The light was blinding, and the lightning bolts surged forward. There was a huge boom. Under the shocked gaze of the immortal city lord, the defense in front of him was instantly shattered. Then Xing Chen and the lightning bolts landed on the other party's body. A blood-curdling scream reverberated in this space. There was a strong sense of unwillingness in it. This was truly invincible. He had encountered a power that exceeded the limits of this world. Lightning filled his body, wreaking havoc. Xing Chen's powerful attack destroyed the body. The immortal city, Lord's body, exploded with a bang. Nothing unexpected happened, because the pseudo-venerable seal was too strong. In the sky, the 16 streaks of soul light that were still rotating stopped the moment the celestial city, Lord, died. Then, the vortex dissipated, disappearing from the world. At the same time, the 16 immortal king armors, as well as their leaders, disappeared with the wind. The 16 strongest leaders of the various races turned into nothingness. They had fallen. The immense pressure on Zichen's body disappeared at this moment, and he immediately flew forward. That was where Xing Wuhan was standing. "How are you?" He had guessed that Xing Wuhan would return early. It could be said that Xing Wuhan had used his own life to buy time for Zichen to break out of the situation. Xing Wuhan, whose body was pierced by countless long thorns, slowly shook his head and said weakly, "I can't do it. Remember what you promised me. You must remember. My brother is a very good person. It's just that he rarely interacts with others and is too introverted." After saying this, his body began to disintegrate into specks of light. Zichen looked at this scene with a complicated expression. "You don't have to blame yourself. I've died a long time ago. What's awake is just a strand of my will. This will dissipate sooner or later. So I didn't die to save you." After saying this, Xing Wuhan's soul disappeared into thin air. At this point, Xing Wuhan no longer existed in the world. That being said, the reason he was able to survive was indeed because of Xing Wuhen. Xing Wuhen could have allowed him to get lost in the void until he died. With the death of the ruler of the immortal city, all of the concealment he had put in place had disappeared. The white bones under his feet were clearly visible. Countless living beings had died here. Zi-Chen's emotions were very complicated. Clearly, the soul-gathering crystal mine was fake. Everything was part of the immortal city ruler's plan to open up this place. He raised his head and looked above. Due to the disappearance of his spiritual strength, the speck of light that had appeared in the black hole was also slowly fading away. The black hole slowly disappeared. Everything returned to normal. The surroundings were still filled with surging soul power, rising up like smoke. Without the suppression, Zi-Chen could clearly feel the resentment within. Clearly, these people were his subordinates when they were alive. However, for Zi-Chen, this was also a great opportunity because his dark, ghost, soul-devouring technique was very unique. All of the negative souls that entered would be obliterated and turned into pure spiritual strength. However, he was not greedy for these bloody opportunities. Instead, he waved his sleeves and said, "Disperse." A light breeze blew past, and the waves of spiritual strength dissipated into thin air. This could be considered a kind of relief. After these souls completely disappeared, the countless white bones below also scattered with the wind. Clearly, there were no more opportunities here. Zi-Chen planned to leave. Unexpectedly at this moment, a strange aura fluctuation came from below. This was a spiritual strength fluctuation. It was very pure, without any distracting thoughts. As soon as this spiritual strength fluctuation appeared, the soul-gathering crystal in Zi-Chen's spiritual sea seemed to be attracted. Zi-Chen's face revealed a puzzled expression as he sized up the area below. Everything was normal there. His figure descended and came to the bottom. Then his eyes lit up. It was the Eye of Destruction. However, when he used the Eye of Destruction again, he was not as confident as before. The reason why he fell for it this time was that Zi-Chen trusted the Eye of Destruction too much, so he let down his guard against everything. Now he knew that there were times when his special Eye of Destruction could not see through. There was nothing around. Everything seemed normal. Even the soul-gathering crystal gradually returned to normal. However, Zi-Chen clearly felt that the dark, ghost, soul-devouring technique had become more active after coming here. Or was there something here that the Eye of Destruction could not see? After pondering for a while, Zi-Chen began to draw talismans. Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans. A total of 81. Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans appeared and then shattered, turning into little ghosts. Then Zi-Chen used his soul to signal them to attack the surroundings. The ghosts screamed and flew in all directions. After a while, they all disappeared. Obviously, there was nothing. Just as Zi-Chen was about to leave, he saw streams of spiritual strength suddenly appear and converge into his spiritual sea. These spiritual strengths were very weak, but they gave Zi-Chen endless hope. These were souls brought back by the ghost spirits, which meant that there was indeed something strange here. He flew up again, then carried Leilon over and placed her beside him. For some reason, she still did not wake up. Then, Zi-Chen continued to draw talismans. After the 81, Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans appeared. They would turn into ghosts and attack the surrounding things on their own. After they disappeared, some visible spiritual strength would appear and enter Zi-Chen's spiritual sea, strengthening his soul. However, compared to the cost, Zi-Chen's gain was too small. This should be the first time he had lost money since he learned the Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans. Fortunately, he had enough holy talismans, and he did not gain anything after coming here. He was obviously unwilling to leave just like that. Zi-Chen's hands were unpredictable. Like a dragon flying and a phoenix dancing, the Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans formed one after another, emitting a black light. The 81 holy talismans formed and then shattered. The ghost screamed and left, launching powerful attacks into the surrounding void. When they disappeared, there would be spiritual strength to replenish them. After wasting nearly 400 Saint Talismans, Zichen could clearly feel that the amount of soul energy he was receiving back had gradually increased. Soon, another 400 holy talismans were consumed. Bit by bit, Zichen's spiritual strength also increased by a lot. When the number of holy talismans consumed exceeded 1,000, Zichen's spiritual sea suddenly trembled. Immediately after, a powerful aura surged out from his body. This aura had already surpassed 4-star. Chapter 3598. It hadn't been long since Zichen had broken through to 4-star. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have broken through so quickly. However, after coming here, the ghost spirit Saint Talisman had repeatedly provided great help to Zichen's soul. In addition, Zichen had been tricked by the immortal city ruler. His dark, ghost-devouring technique had taken the opportunity to refine many souls. Coupled with the consumption of more than 1,000 ghost spirit Saint Talismans, Zichen had taken another step forward. His soul had risen from 4-star to 5-star. The aura of a 5-star divine spirit was released from his body. This time, Zichen had successfully broken through. However, it was obvious that this was just the beginning. Zichen sat down cross-legged. Then, many Saint Crystals appeared beside him. After these Saint Crystals appeared, they immediately shattered. The energy contained in them surged out, forming an energy storm around him that was absorbed by Zichen. During a breakthrough, the speed of absorbing energy was the fastest. This was also an opportunity that could only be found by chance. After the first wave of energy was consumed, what appeared in front of Zichen again was no longer Saint Crystals, but immortal stones. Among the many immortal stones, there were many high-quality immortal stones. They were the size of a human head and shone brightly. A powerful devouring force came from Zichen's body and fell on the immortal stones. Then, the energy contained in the immortal stones decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the energy of the immortal stones entered the sea of knowledge, it would become soul energy. After being refined by the dark, ghost-devouring technique, it would become a pure soul. When it entered the body, it would become physical energy. When it entered abdomen, it would become lightning energy. Under the continuous absorption of energy, the accumulated energy in his dantian had finally undergone a change. From 4-star to 5-star, at this moment, Zichen had truly become a 5-star divine spirit. The breakthrough continued. The energy of countless immortal stones entered Zichen's body. His physical body, abdomen, and soul were constantly strengthening with the help of the immortal stones. This was a rare opportunity. Zichen didn't want to miss it. Fortunately, there was no danger here for the time being. Lei Lan was still lying beside him, showing no signs of waking up. The energy from the immortal stones in the surroundings formed an intense storm. Zichen sat cross-legged in the center of the storm, absorbing the energy from all directions. This crazy absorption continued for several hours. Zichen's status as a 5-star Holy Spirit had completely stabilized, and he had also made considerable progress. It was the same for the soul and body. After stabilizing his realm, Zichen stood up. Lei Lan still hadn't woken up, even though his breakthrough had caused a huge commotion. Fortunately, her breathing was stable, and her vitality was stable. She was only in a deep sleep and nothing had happened to her. After breaking through, his soul had become even more powerful, and his perception had naturally become sharper. There was something strange about this place. Light swirled in his eyes as he used the Eye of Destruction again, but this time he saw it extremely clearly. There were more threads of rules in the surroundings, like a restriction, isolating and suppressing this place. As expected, a joyful smile flashed across Zichen's face. The immortal spear in his hand reappeared, and he slashed forward. The ruler of the immortal city was dead, and the immortal king armor had become controllable again. It could be considered a true treasure armor now. The moment Zichen attacked, a beam of light of destruction appeared in the Eye of Destruction, stopping the restriction in front of him. Then, where the immortal spear passed, the restriction shattered. A huge gap appeared. A beam of light flew out from Zichen's body and disappeared with Lei Lan. That huge gap disappeared along with it. After breaking the restriction, Zichen saw a mansion. The moment he saw the mansion, clearly his eyes lit up again. This time, he didn't use his Eye of Destruction. Only shock appeared on his face. The soul power in the surroundings was so dense that it almost couldn't be dispersed. If his eyesight wasn't wrong, then the mansion in front of him was built with soul-gathering crystals. The Holy Thunder Clan was known as one of the 4 great sacred clans and had a deep foundation. However, soul-gathering crystals were still very rare to the Holy Thunder Clan. But now, Zichen saw a mansion made of soul-gathering crystals. Even if it was built with the lowest grade of soul-gathering crystals, it was still a very terrifying thing. Not to mention whether there were other fortuitous encounters in this place. Just by taking away this mansion, the harvest he would obtain would be much more than what he had obtained before. Moreover, this mansion didn't look like it was built with ordinary soul-gathering crystals. He didn't know when this mansion was left behind. There was no name on it. So, Zichen walked forward and came to the mansion's door. Before he could reach out to push the door opened inwards by itself. The immortal spear in Zichen's hand reappeared, and he looked ahead vigilantly. A person stood behind the open door. It was an old man in a gray robe, and his back was a little hunched. "Greetings, my lord." After the old man saw Zichen through the open door, he excitedly bowed to him. Zichen's expression changed slightly. He took a few steps back, and the immortal spear in his hand began to shine. Just a moment ago, he sensed the aura that flowed out of the old man's body. It was as terrifying as the abyss. The old man looked up at Zichen with an excited expression. Zichen was still vigilant. He asked, "Who are you?" The old man was slightly stunned. A light flashed in his eyes, and he said, "This old servant is the spirit of this place. You're the owner of this mansion?" Zichen asked again. The old man nodded. "You can say that. No one has come here for many years." Zichen continued to ask, "Why are you calling me Lord?" The old man's emotions had completely returned to normal. He answered, "When I left back then, the old master said that everyone who comes here is a lord." "Old master?" Zichen's expression changed when he heard this, but then he understood. This mansion was built by someone, so of course there would be an owner. He continued to ask, "Where's your old master?" The old man looked at Zichen and said, "The old master has passed away. I've been waiting for a new master." Zichen's eyes lit up. He said, "Is there a new master now?" "There wasn't before, but there is now." The old man cupped his fists at Zichen and bowed. "This old servant greets the master." Zichen was very happy, but he quickly calmed down. How could there be such a good thing in the world? The scene of him becoming an immortal was still vivid in his mind. Therefore, he used the Eye of Destruction again and looked ahead. The old man was real. This soul-gathering crystal mansion was also real. With the previous example, Zichen no longer trusted his eye technique. Therefore, under the old man's puzzled gaze, the Holy Spirit flying dagger appeared beside him and kept spinning around his body. At the same time, he used the defense of the Immortal King armor to the extreme. Chapter 35:99. The only reason he had been able to wake up was because of Xing Wuhin's warning. He began to ask himself. But during that process, because it had been a long time and he had been warned many times, he had easily discovered the problem. But now he only saw an old man. Apart from that, there were no other familiar faces. This made him feel that it was quite difficult. Zi-Chin looked at Leylan. She still hadn't woken up. Did this mean that there was no way to break out of this situation? Xing Wuhin hadn't died, and the other leaders hadn't died either. Was this just a hallucination? As he began to ask himself, Zi-Chen's doubts grew even stronger. The old man stood there, looking at Zi-Chen with his eyes closed. His expression was complicated, and he didn't speak for a long time. After standing there for 15 minutes, seeing that Zi-Chen still hadn't made a move, the old man said, "Master, how should I address you?" Zi-Chen opened his eyes when he heard the voice. The old man stood there respectfully. It really wasn't a hallucination. His expression began to change. The old man smiled and said, "This place contains extremely dense soul energy. It can replenish one's soul at any time, allowing one to stay awake at all times. How could it be a hallucination?" Zi-Chen shook his head, not daring to agree. The soul energy on the platform was naturally very dense, but didn't he still fall for it? And he almost died? Then, does that mean that the soul-gathering crystal mine is real? Zi-Chen, who was filled with doubts, asked again. "You can say that." The old man nodded and said, "Actually, there was only one residence here. It's just that too much time has passed and the soul energy in the surroundings hasn't dissipated for a long time, forming a mine. Since the mine is real, why didn't the Immortal City ruler use the energy here to break the barrier, but instead killed his countless citizens?" Zi-Chen asked. The old man shook his head and said, "I don't know what master means. This place has been sealed for many years, and I have never interacted with outsiders. I don't know what happened outside. Also, the seal here is extremely powerful. Ordinary people can't open it." Looking at the still frowning Zi-Chen, the old man said, "Master, you were the first to come here. According to the old master's last wish, this place is master's. Why don't I show you around?" Although he could not accept what was happening in front of him, the old man appeared very kind, so he said, "Don't call me master anymore. It's too awkward. Just call me Zi-Chen." "Yes, sir." The old man lowered his head, but his body was trembling, and the look in his eyes changed drastically. Zi-Chen walked forward, and the old man led him on a tour. The area here was not big, but according to the old man, it was made with a whole piece of soul-gathering crystal, which shocked Zi-Chen. During this time, Zi-Chen entered the room and saw many decorations. They were all carved out of soul-gathering crystals and emitted an oppressive soul light. The density of spiritual strength here was beyond imagination. If Zi-Chen cultivated here for a period of time, he was confident that he would be able to break through from 5th to 6th. After all, the soul was the foundation of cultivation. Seeing the excitement in Zi-Chen's eyes, the old man said, "Although this place already belongs to my lord, everything in the surroundings is in a sealed state. Therefore, before the seal is opened, my lord cannot take away anything here." "Can't take anything away?" When Zi-Chen heard this, his face was filled with regret. Obviously, this was a real treasure mountain. However, he could only look at it and could not even touch it. "Sir, you can stay here and cultivate. Once the seal is unsealed, you can take this mansion away," the old man said. "How long will it take to break the seal?" Zi-Chen asked. "If I were to break the seal alone, it would take dozens or hundreds of years. Moreover, there are also soul-gathering crystals gathered outside. It would take a long time to find a way to this place." Zi-Chen's expression changed slightly, and he said, "You mean this is the core of the mine? There are other soul-gathering crystals outside?" "Of course." The old man said, "If you have a force behind you, sir, then you can leave the mine outside to them. As for this mansion, it belongs to you alone. It can only belong to you. Sir, you can compare this mansion to a soul weapon. Once the seal is unsealed, you can take it away." Zi-Chen nodded, and he could not suppress the joy in his eyes. Obviously, he was going to stay in this mansion alone. Looking at the objects here, Zi-Chen could only look at them, but he could not take them. He felt a little uncomfortable. These ornaments should be comparable to upper soul-gathering crystals, right? Chen's heart was a little sour because he only had one middle-grade soul-amassing crystal at the moment. They are indeed upper soul-gathering crystals, the old man said, nodding. Chen was a little surprised. There were so many ornaments here, and all of them were upper soul-gathering crystals. The original owner was too rich. Chen was not willing to leave just like that, so he asked again, "Is there nothing I can take away?" "Why should I take these things away?" the old man asked, puzzled. Chen said, "These are upper soul-gathering crystals. They are priceless, okay? I'm just a little divine spirit who has just broken through to 5-star, and I only have a medium soul-gathering crystal. How can I compare with your rich master?" A strange look flashed in the old man's eyes, but he finally understood what Chen meant. "If you don't mind, sir, I have a little thing here. I hope you can accept it." With a flash of light, a crystal the size of a baby's fist appeared in the old man's hand. It was the soul-gathering crystal which was emitting a dazzling light. Sensing the power in it, which was much stronger than that of a medium soul-gathering crystal, Chen did not mind. He smiled so widely that his eyes almost became slits. "This is a little thing that I used to play with. It's about pseudo-superb. I hope you don't mind it." "How can it be?" Chen immediately took the soul-gathering crystal. How could he dislike a pseudo-superb that was more advanced than upper soul-gathering crystal? He could not be more happy. So far he did not come in vain. In order to avoid any trouble, he refined it on the spot. The old man was stunned. Apparently, he did not expect his master to be so anxious. He was indeed different. However, such a master seemed to be more flexible and easier to get close to. After refining this pseudo-superb soul-gathering crystal, Chen had a medium soul-gathering crystal. Once he took it out for auction, it would definitely be fought over by countless divine talisman masters. In addition, he did not let everyone down and really found the mineral vein. Now, it was naturally time to leave. "I have to go. Can you tell me how to break the seal here?" Chen asked. "With this ancient token in hand, you can reach the place where the seal is. When you break the seal and go all the way to this place, you can take away this mansion." The old man said, "It was a coincidence that you were able to reach here this time. It might not be the same next time." Chen nodded to show that he understood. Chapter 3600. Lei Hongtian, who was scared away by Chen, was one of the few who survived. However, he suddenly stopped halfway through the flight of stairs. He saw 2 people standing at the bottom of the stairs. He vaguely remembered that these 2 seemed to be related to Chen. They were from the Death Prison Pirates. That was an unlikable force. Looking at Lei Hongtian, Ink smiled faintly and said, "If I'm not wrong, your name is Lei Hongtian, right?" "Humph." Lei Hongtian snorted and said disdainfully, "You're just a death prison pirate. How dare you mention my name?" Ink's expression didn't change. He smiled and said, "You're really conceited. Usually, someone like you can be sold for a good price. However, I have other things to discuss with you today, so I won't sell you." "Just the 2 of you?" Lei Hongtian's expression was still disdainful. He was already a 6-star Holy Spirit. Even if Lei Wuxing stood in front of him, he was confident that he could fight him and not be at a disadvantage. Ink glanced at the 6th young master and said, "You haven't had enough fun all the way, right? Now is your chance." Before the 6th young master could respond, Lei Hongtian said proudly, "Cut the crap. You 2 come together." In fact, it was the tradition of the Death Prison Pirates to rush up together. They only cared about benefits and nothing else. However, this time, Ink didn't come. The 6th young master went up alone. A powerful aura surged out from his body. Black flames began to burn, and the aura of the spirit extinguishing technique burst out. Sensing this aura, Lei Zhanghongtian's expression changed dramatically. After a quarter of an hour, the turbulent energy dissipated, and the distorted space gradually returned to normal. Lei Zhanghongtian fell to the ground with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were full of shock. He was very strong. After reaching the 6-star Holy Spirit, his combat power had increased again, but the enemy was stronger. The 6th young master looked at Lei Zhanghongtian and said coldly, "I finally know why you can't reach the extreme core. Because you're too weak." In a one-on-one battle, Lei Zhanghongtian had lost to someone of the same level as him. When he heard the other party's taunts, his expression turned ugly. Mo Ji stepped forward and patted Lei Zhanghongtian's shoulder. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, this time we won't have any ideas about you. On the contrary, we will cooperate with you. That's because we have a common enemy." Lei Zhanghongtian raised his head and looked at the ink. His previous arrogance was gone. "Our common enemy is Ziqin," Ink said. "The phenomenon here has disappeared. I'm guessing that Ziqin has reached the top. You just came down from above. How's the situation there?" Lei Zhanghongtian's expression began to change. Ink spoke again. "Don't worry, we have no ill intentions towards you, because our target is only Ziqin. He's my enemy, and he's also your enemy, so we can work together to deal with Ziqin." After a slight pause, Mo Ji continued, "That's because I have a way to instantly destroy the reputation he gained in the Sacred Thunder Tribe, turning him from a meritorious official to a disreputable one, turning him into a rat that everyone hates." "Really?" Lei Zhanghongtian's eyes lit up. "Of course. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe in the credibility of the Death Prison's pirates. But I need your cooperation first. Also, you have to tell me what happened inside, so that I can be mentally prepared," said Ink. Lei Zhanghongtian's eyes were filled with hatred as he said, "As long as you can ruin Ziqin's reputation, I'll cooperate with you in any way. Now that Lei Wuxing is dead, there's only him and Lei Lan left. But whether they can get the ultimate opportunity is still unknown." "Then there's no problem," Ink nodded and said, "We'll go back and wait for him in the city. You also have to be prepared. Whether you can take advantage of Ziqin's downfall to rise will depend on your good fortune." Ziqin carried Lei Lan on his back and left the mineral vein. The discovery of the mineral vein this time was not only a great opportunity for him, but also for the entire Holy Thunder Clan. Without a doubt, the Holy Thunder Clan would be the one with the biggest harvest this time, and his contribution this time was definitely not small. But the Holy Thunder Clan had nurtured him, and Ziqin was willing to contribute everything. When he came to the city, the immortal light was still there, but it was not as scary as before. He believed that it would disappear soon. He smiled faintly and leaped out of the city. Next, he would meet up with Lei Wuxuang and inform the Holy Thunder Clan to send more experts here. Suddenly, a voice sounded. "Ziqin, come down for a chat." Looking at the people below, Ziqin frowned. They were the pirates of the Death Prison. Whether it was Ink or the person beside him, they were all experts. But along the way, the two of them did not make a move. Ziqin even asked around and found that the pirates of the Death Prison had almost no harvest this time. Then what was their purpose of coming here? Of course! Ziqin ignored the ink and continued to fly forward. "Don't you want to know why the person behind you is always in a deep sleep?" Ink said again with a faint smile on his face. Ziqin stopped. Lei Lan had not woken up for a long time, and he had been very puzzled. But he did not feel that her life was in danger, so he just treated it as a normal deep sleep. Now it seemed that there was a problem. He landed and stared at Ink and said, "What do you mean?" Ink smiled faintly and said, "Why don't we make a deal?" Ziqin shook his head and said coldly, "Not interested." The smile on Ink's face did not diminish, and he said again, "Actually, whether you are interested or not, you should listen to what I have to say. Because this is the basic courtesy of US, isn't it? Zichin said indifferently. I don't need to be polite to scoundrels like you. Zichin, pay attention to your tone. The sixth young master said coldly. Zichin looked at him with a murderous look in his eyes. Do you want to die? A cold aura surged out of Zichen's body. Sensing this aura, the sixth young master's expression changed, and he exclaimed, You broke through? Ink's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his face. He was not sure about some of the news before. It seems that you really did get the soul-gathering crystal lode. Then please hand it over. Before Zichin could refuse, Ink continued, I have a method that can destroy all of a person's soul, making them completely dead and unable to revive. As he spoke, he looked at Leilon, who was on Zichen's back, and a fierce look appeared in his eyes for the first time. Chapter 3601. Feeling the fierceness of Ink for the first time, Zichin couldn't help laughing and said, Are you kidding me? Ink asked back, What do you think? Zichin still had a sneer on his face. Ink said, To tell you the truth, we've long guessed that you can get the soul-gathering crystal lode, so we've done something to Leilon. Well, it's true that we didn't do a good job in this matter, but you also know that it's a serious matter, so it's not a big deal to go against our ones. Obviously, Zichin couldn't continue to pretend that he didn't know. He said indifferently, You're very sincere, but I'm sorry, the soul-gathering crystal lode you mentioned doesn't exist at all. It's just a trap that the Immortal City's ruler wants to kill everyone. Ink said, I believe the second half of your sentence, but I don't believe the first half. If you don't hand over the soul-gathering crystal lode today, then Leilon will die with no possibility of resurrection. Zichin said, Not to mention that I don't control the lode. Even if I do you think Leilon's life can be exchanged for it? Not to mention Leilon. Even I myself am not worth this price. Leilon is the only disciple of Lady Saint, and I believe that you will save her. Emoji waved his hand and interrupted Zichen's words. You don't have to use Saint Lady to intimidate me. In my heart, I respect Saint Lady very much, but this is a matter of great importance, so we have to do this. Even if Saint Lady attacks us, Saint Lady will be there to stop him. Ink pointed at Zichin and then at himself, saying, Now, there's only a deal between you and me. Hand over the soul-gathering crystal lode, and Leilon will live. If not, Leilon will die. Don't think about killing us, because even if we die, Leilon will die too. Moreover, we will be resurrected, but Leilon can't. Zichin was silent. Now, he finally understood why the Death Prison's pirates didn't take action. It turned out that they had been betting on him all along. The reason why they didn't compete for other resources was that they didn't want to be the first one. They could only think of the greatest opportunity. Looking at the silent Zichin, Ink spoke again. Stalling for time is useless, because we have found an ally. He will persuade the people of the Holy Thunder Clan, so no one will come. Even if there is, so what if reinforcements have arrived? At most, the two of us will die, but Leilon, the only disciple of Holy Revered Lady, will have to accompany us. He didn't use a cold voice to threaten Zichin. He just spoke calmly, but the pressure he gave Zichin wasn't small at all. Naturally, there was a struggle in his heart. That was because that was a soul-amassing crystal mine which was priceless. Once it was fully revealed, all forces would be tempted. Rather than calling it a deal, it would be better to call it a negotiation. The moment Zichin sat on the table, he had already lost. Because he cared, and even more because he was worried. On the other hand, his enemy was fearless. The smile on Ink's face was still the same, and he didn't say a word of nonsense. At their level, they could naturally distinguish between good and evil. If he stood on the opposite side today, then this negotiation would definitely fail, because no one's value was higher than a soul-amassing crystal mine. If someone said that the value of a human life was higher than a soul-amassing crystal mine, then it would definitely be a huge joke. Ink wouldn't. Most people wouldn't. But he wasn't Zichin, and most people weren't Zichen either. Therefore, Zichen would. And in this world, there must be someone more precious than a soul-amassing crystal mine, and that was Leylon, or rather, Zichen's friends. Thinking of this, Ink felt a little emotional. To be able to become friends with such a person who valued friendship and righteousness should be a great joy in life. Unfortunately, the two of them stood on different sides, and they could never become friends. The silent Zichen finally spoke. "How can I believe you? I've given it to you this time, but who can guarantee that you won't continue to threaten me with Leylon next time?" Ink said, "If I tell you, you won't believe what we, the Death Prison Pirates, have said. But think about it. You've given us the most precious mine. If we harm Leylon again, then Holy Master Lady will definitely find trouble with us at that time. Although we also have Holy Masters. If a Holy Master insists on destroying a place, no one should be able to stop him, right?" A soul-amassing crystal mine indicated an unlimited future. Once it was brought back to the Holy Thunder Clan, it was believed that the Holy Thunder Clan would definitely develop rapidly. Perhaps it would only take them 10,000 years to surpass the other 3 clans and become the most powerful force in the Holy Spirit sector. However, Zichen was very unwilling to give up such a great opportunity, just like that. But so what? Zichen glanced at Leylon, who was still unconscious behind him, and shook his head with a wry smile. He had an extra token in his hand and directly threw it to Ink. The 6th young master stood aside and didn't say anything. At this moment, when he saw Zichen throw the token, his eyes almost popped out. Earlier, when Ink told him his plan, he didn't think it would succeed at all because no one would be stupid enough to give up a soul-amassing crystal mine for one person. But today he saw it. The moment the token was in his hand, even Ink had a touch of excitement in his eyes. The token was very light, but the moment it was in his hand, it was extremely heavy, and his breathing had become a little faster. This can't be fake, right? Ink's hand holding the token was slightly trembling, and his originally calm voice was trembling slightly at this moment. You can tell if it's real or not. Zichen said indifferently, "What did Leylon say?" Ink released his soul power to sense the token and found a coordinate and a teleportation channel. He immediately nodded with satisfaction and said, while suppressing his excitement, "After we leave, she will wake up on her own. In the future, the Death Prison Pirates will no longer have any ideas about her." Zichen frowned and said, "Don't tell me you still want me to escort you out of here." Ink smiled and said, "Although I think so too, I'm sorry, but this time you don't have the strength to escort us out of here." To the side, 6th young master also smiled at Zichen. However, that smile turned extremely cold. Ink put away the token, clasped his hands, and bowed deeply to Zichen, saying, "Zichen, thank you very much this time. The Death Prison Pirates will remember your kindness. Next, I hope you take care of yourself." Following Ink's words, another voice rang out from the city walls. "You all saw it, right? He has already surrendered to the Death Prison Pirates. He killed leader Lei Wuxing on the Sky Stairway and robbed him of his harvest. Now he has handed it over to the Death Prison Pirates." Lei Zhanghongtian's figure suddenly appeared and said coldly, "What are you all standing there for? Kill him for me." Chapter 3602. The people of the Holy Thunder Clan were rushing over. Emoji smiled and said, "Brother Zichen, goodbye." The two of them disappeared into thin air. Zichen looked at the people from the Sacred Thunder Tribe who had arrived, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Things had indeed developed according to the worst-case scenario. He put Leylon down, looked at the unconscious Leylon, and said softly, "You have to take care of yourself, too. Speaking of which, I've let you down. If it wasn't for Saint Venerable Lady going out because of me, you wouldn't have been targeted like this." Whoosh! Zichen turned into a flash of lightning and flew out of the city. "Lord Zichen, please stop and explain the situation clearly." A cold voice came from the side. If you have any difficulties, you can tell us. Zi Chen didn't slow down. Instead, he said coldly, "If Lei Lan dies, I won't let any of you go this time." Lei Zhanghongtian was still standing on the city wall with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. He waved his hand, and 2 experts of the Holy Thunder clan immediately rushed in the direction of Lei Lan. "Stupid girl, who asked you to be with Ziqin? Don't blame me for being cruel." His eyes were full of murderous intent. Whoosh! Who would have thought that at this moment a bolt of lightning would shoot over from the distance at lightning speed and carry Lei Lan in its arms? The light materialized into a woman wearing battle armor. It was an unfamiliar woman of the Holy Thunder clan. Even Lei Zhanghongtian didn't know her. She turned her head and looked at Lei Zhanghongtian. She said coldly, "Where's that thief?" Lei Zhanghongtian, who was standing in the distance, said, "He ran out of the city." "Chase!" She carried Lei Lan and rushed out of the immortal city. Lei Zhanghongtian looked at the woman's back, and his expression kept changing. Sure enough, the identity of the holy sage's disciple was too extraordinary. Even if there was evidence that Zi Chen colluded with the death prison pirates, they still had to protect Lei Lan. Zi Chen was fleeing at full speed, displaying his extreme speed. Behind him, the experts of the Holy Thunder clan were constantly chasing after him. "Lord Ziqin, you have made a great contribution to the Holy Thunder clan this time. We all believe in you. But could you please stop and explain this matter clearly? We believe that you must have your own difficulties." Similar voices kept coming from behind, but they were all transmitted through the sea of consciousness. Of course, other than these sound transmissions, there were even more shouts of fighting and killing, as well as all sorts of whistling sounds coming from behind. Zi Chen did not stop. It was an undeniable fact that he had given his badge to the pirates of the Death Prison Star Pirates. As for the 2 parties sitting down and patiently explaining, he was certainly willing to do so. He even hoped that the Holy Thunder clan could understand him. But obviously this was impossible. Who knew how many of the people chasing after him were from the Lei Zhang family? Who knew how many of them had secret methods? Perhaps as soon as Zi Qin stopped, a high-grade Saint Talisman would fall on his head. At that time, he might not even have the chance to explain. He would be killed first and reported later. Therefore, after escaping from the immortal city, Zi Chen immediately flew to the peak of the mountains, where Lei Wushuang was guarding. In this place, the speed of news transmission was naturally the fastest. At this moment, many forces knew that Zi Chen had colluded with the Death Prison Pirates and handed over the resources of the Holy Thunder clan's mineral veins to them. Therefore, they stood in the distance and watched the battle without any intention of interfering. They were in a state of watching a show, watching Zi Chen escape while the pursuers kept chasing after him. During this time, some people found it very interesting and had a mocking look on their faces. Now that the mineral veins have been lost, instead of looking for the Death Prison Pirates, they are chasing after Ziqin. This is rather interesting. It seems that many people are jealous of Ziqin's gains this time. Now that there is evidence, it is impossible for him to turn things around. The reputation that he has painstakingly accumulated is destroyed in one day. I don't know what method the Death Prison Pirates used to make Zi Chen willingly hand over the mineral veins. While some people were talking, more and more sacred spirits were leaving behind them. At this moment, the people of the Holy Thunder clan were all dealing with Zi Chen. Naturally, they had no time to care about the Death Prison Pirates. For them, this was also a great opportunity. Zi Chen arrived at the peak of the mountains. A powerful aura came from below. He saw Lei Wushuang, dressed in immortal armor, soar into the sky. Zi Chen, stop right there. Lei Wushuang's cold voice sounded, spreading in all directions. At the same time, a voice transmission came from Zi Chen's sea of consciousness. What is going on? Where is my brother? In Zi Chen's hand, a light flashed and half a soul weapon appeared. He shook his hand, and the soul weapon flew straight at Lei Wuxiang. "How dare you sneak attack the Lord? You are courting death." The pursuers behind took the opportunity to shout loudly. Zichen did not reduce his speed and continued to move forward. He encountered Lei Wuxiang, who was blocking his way. A loud boom sounded. Lei Wuxiang fell down, while Zichen did not reduce his speed and quickly flew away. Lei Wuxiang landed on the ground and looked at Zichen's back with a complicated expression. In her hand, she was holding half of her brother's soul weapon. Obviously, Lei Wuxiang was really dead. "Little Shuang, I brought him here." At this moment, a voice sounded from the side. It was the woman who had brought Lei Lan here. Lei Wuxiang looked at Lei Lan with a complicated expression. Although she rarely dealt with intelligence, she was very clear about the whole story. Something must have happened in the middle. "What about Zichen?" the woman beside her asked. Lei Wuxiang said, "Ignore him. There are holy venerables guarding the periphery. We only need to mine the resources here." "Is that guy stupid? He actually gave away the soul-gathering crystal mine. Now, even if it's a great contribution, it can't compare to the trouble he caused this time," the woman said unhappily. Lei Wuxiang waved her hand. She was not in a good state of mind. Before leaving, Zichen sent her a voice transmission, saying that it was his own matter and that he would take care of it. Then, Lei Wuxiang's beautiful face turned cold. "There are people outside. How are you going to deal with them? Are you going to fight against the entire Holy Thunder clan?" Not long after, Lei Lan slowly woke up. When she opened her eyes, there was still a look of confusion in her eyes. "You are awake," Lei Wuxiang's voice sounded. Lei Lan's eyes gradually regained light. "Where am I?" "Outside the city." "What happened inside?" Lei Wuxiang asked again, her voice cold. Lei Lan began to recall what had happened and told Lei Wuxiang. When she heard that Lei Wuxiang had died, Lei Wuxiang's expression did not change. She usually did not think about problems, but it did not mean that there was something wrong with her brain. How could Zichen kill Lei Wuxiang? It was indeed Lei Zhanghongtian. However, she did not intend to pursue this matter because Zichen's matter was too big. It could be said that it was more important than anything else. Even if he had obtained countless resources and contributions for the Holy Thunder clan this time, his merits could not make up for his crimes. Facing Lei Lan's questioning, Lei Wuxiang said unhappily he left. Where did he go? Chapter 3603. Of course, Zichen couldn't really be a rat. This was just how Lei Wuxiang described his current situation. A rat crossing the street. Everyone wanted to beat him up. Therefore, he had encountered many pursuers along the way. However, a decent battle had yet to happen. Obviously, everyone had scruples because Zichen had the title of invincible here. Even immortal armor would be pierced through in front of him. Therefore, there were many people who wanted to kill Zichen, but there were very few who really dared to fight him. In addition, Zichen had really made a great contribution to the Holy Thunder clan this time. Many people who were grateful still had some scruples. In this way, Zichen fled all the way to the periphery and came to the base camp. This was also the first time he had returned since coming to this world. However, compared to the many powerhouses he had brought with him when he moved forward, this time he came back alone. In Zichen's estimation, there should have been a lot of people here, and a big battle was inevitable. But no, it was very quiet here, as if all the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder clan who were stationed here had disappeared. The entire camp was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. The light of the teleportation formation was very eye-catching. That was Zichen's target this time. When his figure landed, there was suddenly another person there. It was a teenager. He was also the holy master of the Thunder clan, the bloodline ancestor. Zichen's figure descended from the sky and stood opposite the bloodline ancestor. The young bloodline ancestor looked at Zichen and was silent. Zichen looked at the bloodline ancestor and said, "Bloodline ancestor, are you going to stop me?" The bloodline ancestor smiled slightly and said, "You are very bold, aren't you? But I thought that the first thing you would say when you saw me would be to apologize to me. After all, our relationship is still very good." Zichen was stunned when he heard this, and the vigilance in his heart dissipated. He cupped his fists and said, "I am indeed sorry for this matter to the Holy Thunder Clan." "What's your plan?" asked the bloodline ancestor. Zichen said in a deep voice, "Let's leave this place first, and then find an opportunity to take back everything I've lost." The vain ancestor nodded and said, "I won't persuade you otherwise, but this road is not easy to walk, especially after leaving this place. Although the Holy Venerates will not make a move, there are many high-level Holy Spirits. You have to be mentally prepared." "Thank you, Patriarch." Zichen cupped his fists and walked forward. The vain ancestor stepped aside. Zichen walked into the teleportation array. Watching him disappear, the bloodline ancestor sighed. "This is not a test. This is a true life and death situation. Each of those fellows is more ruthless than the last. If you can't pass this time, I'm afraid you won't have a future in the future." Zichen came to the planet he had conquered. The mining here was still going on, and it was very hot. After Zichen arrived, he attracted a lot of attention. But all the Holy Spirits quickly withdrew their gazes, no longer looking at Zichen. Zichen saw that there was a teleportation array to the side. He guessed that it was the one that led to the outside world. There were no other Holy Spirits guarding the teleportation array. Zichen walked up. As the teleportation array lit up, his figure disappeared. This teleportation allowed Zichen to leave this area directly. The smoothness of the process was completely beyond his expectation. Obviously, all this was because of the bloodline ancestor. Like Lei Wuxuang, the bloodline ancestor also knew that he had his difficulties, but he could not protect himself because this matter was too big. How big of a sin was it to lose a soul-gathering crystal lode? After appearing in the outside world, Zichen flew toward the distance. The Holy Spirits of the Sacred Thunder Tribe who were guarding the area were stunned. They were a little confused. Zichen flew quickly. After about thousands of miles, he directly took out the flying boat and flew away. In the flying boat, Zichen still did not relax and began to write talismans. The first talisman was naturally the Holy Ghost talisman. He wrote one talisman after another. This time he was able to come out smoothly because of the bloodline ancestor. But as the bloodline ancestor said, once he left the world that suppressed the realm, it was the beginning of the danger, because there were more powerful existences here. 7-star, 8-star, and even 9-star Holy Spirits. After the number of Holy Ghost talismans in the flying boat reached 72, it stopped again. Obviously, it had reached its limit. At the same time, it also proved that the power of the Holy Ghost talisman had increased again. Zichen still had some holy arms of heavenly power, which should be enough. He was afraid that the roar of thunder would not be used because his next enemy would be the people of the Holy Thunder Clan. Suddenly, Zichen remembered that he still had a kind of holy talisman. It was a kind of 5-star holy talisman that the Qin family had given him. It was called Thunder Sweep. Time was of the essence, and the battle would start at any time. Zichen immediately began to comprehend. Not long after Zichen left this area, Lei Zhanghongtian also came out. This time his harvest was only a little more than Hu Huanshan's. It was almost nothing. If he did not seize this opportunity to completely defeat Zichen and take some resources from him, then when he returned to the family, his status as the successor would be in danger. As for Hu Huanshan, who had gained nothing, he did not care about his status in the Hu family. There were many forces like the Hu family that wanted to rely on the Leijing family. He did not mind losing such an ally. As a big force, the Leijing family naturally had its own intelligence channels. He immediately began to contact the people in the family to encircle and annihilate Zichen. Zichen's first battle came 2 days later. 3 6-star Holy Spirits of the Holy Thunder clan blocked him directly. Obviously, they were the vanguard team. After destroying the flying boat, Zichen's figure appeared and rushed forward. He wore the immortal king armor and held the immortal spear in his hand. Puff! 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 After 3 consecutive shots, Zichen withdrew his spear and stood there. The 3 of them had become corpses. He did not hold back, even if they were from the Holy Thunder clan. This time, the enemy he was facing would be unprecedentedly powerful. He needed to use his powerful combat power to kill his way out. Moreover, these Holy Spirits were not afraid of death at all, because Zichen did not have the means to directly destroy their souls. However, if they lost their physical bodies, they would need a lot of resources to refine them. If they did not mind the consumption of resources, Zichen did not mind bringing more holy crystals with him. Zichen, who was moving forward, began to fight. The scale of the battle was not big, and Zichen won every time with lightning speed. However, from the looks of it, all of this was more like giving Zichen the opportunity to kill for free. This was because the people who came were still 6-star Holy Spirits. When Zichen was still a 4-star Holy Spirit, he could already kill a group of them by himself. Just as Zichen was killing the enemies and breaking out of the encirclement, news about him spread extremely quickly. As soon as the news of the soul-amassing crystal load came out, it caused a great shock in the Holy Spirit realm. The word that accompanied the soul-amassing crystal load the most was the word traitor. Right now, Zichen had been labeled as a traitor. Once the Holy Thunder clan issued an order, the word traitor would be confirmed. This was also why the number and quality of the people who wanted to kill Zichen were not so high. The name had not been confirmed yet, so it was not right to make a move now. Time flew by and half a month passed. Chapter 36:04. A month's time was enough for a Holy Spirit to escape to a very far place. However, although the Holy Spirit realm was said to be boundless, there were very few areas that the Holy Thunder clan had not touched. Therefore, even after escaping for a month, Zichen's location was still firmly locked onto by the Holy Thunder clan. During this month, the Holy Thunder clan seemed to be peaceful, but in fact, there was a huge argument because of Zichen. During this time, many families wanted to punish Zichen. After all, he had given away the soul-amassing crystal mine, causing the Holy Thunder clan to miss the opportunity to become the most powerful force in the Holy Spirit realm. There were also some families that thought that Zichen had made a great contribution to the Holy Thunder clan. Although he was guilty this time, it was too heavy to be labeled as a traitor. There were many factions arguing, and among them, the Leizheng family was the most. They wanted to kill Zichen. This argument lasted for a long time. During this time, many factions were paying attention to the movements in the Holy Sage's mansion. However, the housekeeper had not come out, and the Holy Sage had not returned. This made many people puzzled. In the end, even the spirit ancestor came out to speak up for Zichen. However, the Leizheng family also had a Holy Sage. A simple argument turned into an argument between the Holy Sages in the end. In the end, the matter blew up, and Leizhenka made the final decision. The Holy Thunder clan had issued a kill order. Following the release of the kill order, Zichen's traitor name was confirmed, and it caused an uproar. Then, countless powerhouses of the Holy Thunder clan began to besiege Zichen, and Zichen, who had been on the run for a whole month, was facing a large-scale hunt for the first time. On a ruined planet, Zichen was wearing the immortal king armor and holding the immortal spear. He was leaning against a big rock. Holy blood kept dripping from the immortal spear, dyeing the ground red. His immortal king armor was also dripping blood. In front of him were more than 20 corpses. Although they were already dead, they were still emitting a terrifying aura. Zi Chen raised his head to look at the sky. His eyes narrowed slightly as an infinite coldness appeared in them. Here we go again. A person descended from the sky. There was only one person. Zi Chen was not surprised because he had already killed all the small fries that had come before. This person was a 7-star Saint Spirit. Zi Chen stood up and looked up at the descending 7-star Holy Spirit. There was no fear in his heart. Instead, he felt a little emotional. Not long ago, when he was bullied by other sacred spirits, it was Lei Tianshi who helped him out. Many years later, he was already able to fight against a 7-star Saint Spirit. Killing a fellow disciple, your heart is indeed cold. The 7-star Saint Spirit descended from the sky. He was wearing a shining thunder armor. The surface of the armor was covered with countless fine scales. It was very eye-catching. He glanced at the corpse on the ground and said indifferently. Obviously, his opponent had come prepared. Zi Chen took a deep breath and said, "You didn't show up and watch them die. Was it so that when you attacked, you would appear more righteous?" The 7-star Saint Spirit's expression became colder and colder. His eyes were filled with endless killing intent. "It seems that you don't have the slightest bit of regret. If that's the case, don't blame me, Lei Aoshan, for not caring about our friendship." Zi Chen smiled faintly and said, "Lei Aoshan, it seems that you have offended someone in the Holy Thunder clan." The other party's pupils shrank. He said coldly, "What do you mean?" "You think that you are here to take advantage of the situation and gain credit. Little do you know that in the eyes of some people, you are no different from these guys." Zi Chen pointed at the many corpses on the ground and said, "You are just cannon fodder in everyone's eyes." As his voice fell, the battle spear in Zi Chen's hand shone with a golden light. He rushed forward. Even if his opponent was a 7-star Saint Spirit, he was not afraid. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of Lei Aoshan and stabbed forward with his spear. Spear 9. The spear turned into 9, like 9 peerless immortal spears, and went straight to the vital points of Lei Aoshan's body. Feeling the sharp spear light, Lei Aoshan shouted loudly, and 9 balls of thunder fire appeared in front of him. The 9 balls of thunder fire twisted and changed, and also turned into 9 long spears, whistling forward. Chi! 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 The moment the thunder fire spear light met the battle spear, it exploded, like flowers of thunder fire, blooming in front of him. The 9 immortal spear light passed through the stamen of the thunder fire, and the aura was still sharp. Lei Aoshan's pupil shrank, and he quickly retreated. When he put some distance between the two of them, he formed a seal with his hands, and countless thunder fire flew out from his body. Each ball of thunder fire turned into a long spear, whistling forward. In an instant, the sky was filled with a rain of spears. Balls of thunder fire bloomed one after another, and there were hundreds of them in an instant. The power of Spear 9 was finally exhausted. "This is your method. It's just S.O." Lei Aoshan sneered, and countless thunder fire spears flew forward like a rain of light. Zi Chen walked forward, and the immortal king armor on his body shone. The thunder fire spears exploded around him, turning into balls of thunder fire flowers. Zi Chen walked in the sea of flowers, and countless flames shone, like a returning god of war. The smile on Lei Aoshan's face froze. He did not expect that his powerful attack could not even break the defense of his opponent's armor. In that world, the immortal king armor had its drawbacks, but after the immortal city ruler was killed, no one knew where the drawbacks were, so it became a truly powerful immortal armor. Its defensive power could be said to be terrifying. Countless thunder, fire, flowers bloomed around Zi Chen's body. He walked in the middle of the sea of flowers and came in front of Lei Aoshan. He thrust his spear forward, and light lit up from the tip of the spear. It was a golden thunderbolt. Spear 6. 6 spear lights flew out from the battle spear, leaving 6 clear white traces in the air, and shot towards Lei Aoshan in a straight line. During this time, nearly 100 spear lights were broken, forming thunder fire flowers. However, the power of Spear 6 far surpassed that of Spear 9, so in a short moment it broke through the defense of countless spear lights and came close. A loud bang was heard, and the 6 golden spear lights exploded. The defensive light on the surface of Lei Aoshan's body quickly dimmed, and finally it exploded, and his body flew backward. With the defense broken, the armor became dull and dull. Zi-Chen's figure flashed, and he approached his opponent again, thrusting his immortal spear again. Spear 3. 3 spear lights that were several times stronger than before, with a shrill sound, landed on Lei Aoshan's body under his shocked expression. Boom! 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 Countless cracks appeared on the armor that Lei Aoshan was so proud of. The powerful impact passed through his armor, and his internal organs were churning. In the end, he suddenly coughed up blood, and his body flew backward again. Zi-Chen's gaze was extremely cold, and a cold, killing intent surged in his eyes. I told you, you are cannon fodder. With that, the spear moved forward again. Spear 1, Heaven and Earth. This was Zi-Chen's peak attack, and only 1 spear light landed on Lei Aoshan's body. With a bang, the armor collapsed, like a hidden weapon shooting in all directions. Puff! Chapter 36:05. This desolate planet became quiet once again. Occasionally, a wind of energy would sweep up the dust and swirl it into the distance. Dozens of corpses were lying on the ground. Zi-Chen held the immortal spear in his hand, and the tip of the spear completely pierced through Lei Aoshan's body. The scene seemed to have frozen. Time seemed to have stopped. Lei Aoshan's eyes widened. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and he couldn't say a word. Red blood flowed down the spear and fell to the ground, making a faint sound. You! Finally, a hoarse voice came from his throat. Your mission as cannon fodder is complete, Zi-Chen said faintly. He exerted force with the spear in his hand, and a golden thunderbolt flashed and disappeared. In Lei Aoshan's widened eyes, the light dissipated, and his surging vitality disappeared in an instant. A 7-star saint spirit died under Zi-Chen's immortal spear, just like that. Poof! The immortal spear left Lei Aoshan's chest, and countless saint blood gushed out, dyeing the ground red. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Zi-Chen waved his hand. Saint light swept across everyone's bodies, and their bodies all crystallized, turning into the purest saint crystals. After putting away these saint crystals, Zi-Chen looked up at the sky. The test was over, and presumably there would be endless trouble next. His figure soared into the sky, and his body turned into a black, getting smaller and smaller. In an instant, the black dot disappeared. In another instant, the black dot reappeared, and it was getting bigger and bigger. Like a meteorite, it fell from the sky. With a loud bang, countless smoke and dust flew up, and a huge crater appeared on the previous battlefield. In the center of the crater, amidst the billowing smoke and dust, Zi-Chen stood up and looked up at the sky. 3 black dots appeared there, and they were quickly descending. There were 3 of them, 3 7-star saint spirits. A cold smile flashed across the corner of Zi-Chen's mouth. Originally, he thought that after this test he would at least have a few days to rest, but he didn't expect that someone would come so soon. Were they trying to exhaust him to death? Zi-Chen, do you admit to your crime? A thunderous voice sounded in the sky, and 3 7-star saint spirits descended from the sky. Whoa! Zi-Chen's aura fluctuated, and the dust around him flew in all directions. He said coldly, "If you want to fight, then let's fight. Why are you spouting so much nonsense?" As soon as he finished speaking, Zi-Chen soared into the sky. The immortal king armor around him emitted an intense light. He rushed towards a group of people. "You are courting death." The other 3 all displayed powerful attacks as they charged towards Zi-Chen. Chen faced these attacks head-on without slowing down. A beam of sword light came at him. The light under his feet flickered slightly, and his figure disappeared. As he dodged the sword light, a bolt of lightning struck him. Lightning exploded, forming a violent force. Chen rushed into the violent energy. The Immortal King armor blocked the powerful impact for him. When he rushed out, he displayed his strongest spear attack. Spear 1, Heaven and Earth. A sharp whistling sound rang out, leaving a clear white mark in the air. In front of Chen, the 7-star Holy Spirit was horrified. Looking at the spear in front of him, he quickly put up a defense. In fact, he could only put up a defense. As the strong light approached, it instantly broke through the defense and moved forward again. Puff! The 7-star Holy Spirit's body was completely penetrated. Boom! Boom! The other two seized the opportunity. Two of their strongest attacks landed on Chen's body and then exploded. Terrifying energy enveloped Chen. The two of them did not rescue him before. Obviously, they were planning to exchange their lives for his. The long spear pierced through his body. The 7-star Holy Spirit's vitality was rapidly dissipating. In the violent energy, Chen's expression was still cold. The long spear in his hand shook, and the 7-star Holy Spirit's corpse was smashed to the ground. The other two 7-star Holy Spirits quickly retreated with vigilance in their eyes. The violent energy dissipated, and Chen walked out. The Immortal King armor on his body was intact, and his eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. He was not injured at all. The two 7-star Holy Spirits looked at each other and saw fear in each other's eyes. Kill! Chen shouted loudly. His footsteps were extremely fast as he flew forward. First spear, Heaven and Earth. At this moment, he did not use the Black Flame technique, Saint Bone, or Heavenly Power Saint Arm. He only unleashed the full power of the Immortal King armor and his own lightning power. 1 against 3. 1 against 3. Looking at the 3 7-star Holy Spirits' corpses on the ground, Chen's face turned pale, and his aura became weak. As a 5-star, he could kill 4 7-star Holy Spirits in a row. This was undoubtedly a magnificent feat, but the price he paid was not small. Puff! His internal organs were churning, and he suddenly coughed up blood. Even with the protection of the Immortal King armor, he still suffered serious injuries. However, through this incident, he also had a deeper understanding of his own strength. As a 5-star, he had the strength to fight against a 7-star Holy Spirit. Even without the Immortal King armor, he could easily fight. However, this was only limited to one-on-one battles. If he used all his skills, Chen alone would be able to fight a small group battle. He put away the 7-star Holy Spirit Saint Crystal and looked up at the sky. No other Holy Spirits appeared. The battle temporarily came to an end, and he began to heal his injuries. During this time, he also took a high-grade pill. After his injuries were healed, he quickly rushed into the sky, left this planet, and continued to go far away. He did not know when this life of running away would end. The core city of the Holy Thunder Clan. A ray of light lit up from the teleportation array, and it turned into a person. It was Lei Wushuang, the core extreme. There was a courtyard in front of her. It was a courtyard, and this teleportation array existed only for this courtyard. This was the residence of the core extreme. Every core extreme that passed the assessment would receive such treatment. Walking out of the teleportation array, Lei Wushuang went straight ahead. When she came to the door, she did not knock. She directly stretched out her jade-like hand and pushed it open forcefully. A person was sitting in the courtyard. It was Lei Wuxing. Seeing his little sister, Lei Wuxing was a little surprised and asked, "Why are you here? How's the situation in the immortal realm?" Lei Wushuang's real body was still overseeing the area called the immortal realm. What came here was only an energy body with the consciousness of the main body. Looking at the teacup on the side, Lei Wuxiang said sarcastically, "You're in the mood to drink tea. Do you know that Zi Chen is being hunted down?" Lei Wuxing spread his hands and said helplessly, "My main body was destroyed. The body I condensed now has less than half of its original strength." Lei Wuxiang said unhappily, "So what? You're a core extreme. Even if you have half of your strength, no one will dare to underestimate you, right? Do you still treat Zi Chen as a friend? He's being hunted down all over the world, and you still have the mood to drink tea here." Lei Wuxing glanced at his little sister, and his originally indifferent expression became a little more serious. He stretched out a finger, drew a circle in front of his eyes, and said, "Say, how many more core extreme like you and me are there around here?" Chapter 3606. Looking at his sister's changing expression, Lei Wuxing snorted and said in a rare, serious tone, "So, don't do anything stupid. Otherwise, you won't be helping Zi Chen, but harming him." Lei Wuxiang said unwillingly, "Are we just going to watch Zi Chen be hunted down and do nothing?" Lei Wuxing said, "The Holy Thunder Clan has issued a kill order. Under such circumstances, if we insist on helping, we will only bring more trouble to Zi Chen." "Why?" Lei Wuxiang said angrily. "Why is no one speaking up for Zi Chen? If it wasn't for Zi Chen this time, would the Holy Thunder Clan have gained so much?" Lei Wuxing said with a bitter smile, "No one can deny his contribution, but giving the soul-amassing crystal mine to the death prison pirates is definitely a big crime. If this is a big crime, then what about the other 17 forces? All of them died, and they suffered heavy casualties, but they didn't get anything. Why did they become heroes, while Zi Chen is being hunted down by the entire Holy Thunder Clan?" Lei Wuxing already knew about the 17 leaders. All 17 of them who had obtained the Immortal King armor were dead. They were completely dead. Their souls were destroyed, and there was no possibility of resurrection. The various clans who received the news gave this person great honor and reward. Zi Chen was the only one who came out alive. He should have been a hero, but now he was being hunted down by the entire world. If Zi Chen also died, then of course he would be a hero. Lei Wuxing shook his head and said, "If Zi Chen didn't get this opportunity, then he would still be a hero. But he gave the opportunity to the death prison pirates after getting it. This won't do, because he made a huge mistake, and that is if we can't get something no one else can. Right now, you want the Holy Thunder Clan, who should have gotten everything, to act as if they didn't? How is that possible?" Seeing the change in Lei Wuxiang's expression, Lei Wuxing warned, "Don't do anything foolish. Based on the information I received, there are 2 holy venerates supporting Zi Chen this time. Among them, the bloodline ancestor had yet to return. The spirit ancestor had scolded almost everyone involved in this matter, including Saint Lei Zhang. But what was the result? Wasn't the kill order issued? Even you, a person who once had a prejudice against Zi Chen, can understand Zi Chen's hard work and contributions. Don't tell me that the bloodline ancestor, who has always been by Zi Chen's side, doesn't know? But why didn't he leave Zi Chen in that area, instead of letting him go? Is it because he is not strong enough?" Lei Wuxing snorted and said, "If we were talking about other places, I wouldn't dare to talk about the battle prowess of a saint venerable. But in that place, the 2 spirit ancestors and meridian ancestors can fight a group of them by themselves. But why didn't the second ancestor go to extremes? This is an event that we are destined to be unable to interfere in. If the 2 of us make a move, perhaps the other core extremes who haven't made a move before will follow suit. Actually, if you think about it carefully, although Zi Chen is facing an extremely difficult situation, the Holy Thunder Clan hasn't done everything they can. At the very least, the core extremes haven't made a move, and the many 9-star holy spirits who have been in seclusion for many years haven't been awakened." Lei Wuxing hesitated for a moment before saying, "Or rather, there's something fishy about this kill order itself." "What's fishy?" Lei Wuxuang asked. Think about it. The kill order was issued, but there was no reward to match it. There was no mention of a reward at all. How many people do you think will go after Zichen? Lei Wuxing said. Holy spirits who have reached this level won't have the leisure to meddle in other people's business. Even if it's a kill order, let alone a kill order, if there's no reward, would they be willing to travel thousands of miles to kill an extremely dangerous existence? If that's the case, why did they issue this kill order? Lei Wuxuang asked doubtfully. Although most people don't want to deal with Zichen, there's still a very small number of people who are very concerned about it. So, the people that Zichen really needs to fight against are actually only that small group of people. Lei Wuxing said, Actually, I don't know why. Or perhaps this is a game between the two Holy Spirits, Lei Zhang and Lei Di? But Holy Spirit, Lei Di hasn't returned yet. Although she didn't succeed in getting Lei Wuxing to make a move this time, Lei Wuxuang also knew the seriousness of the matter. If she didn't make a move, Zichen might still have a chance to live. If she made a move, Zichen would definitely die. So, regarding this kill order, although those people didn't care about the method, they still had to follow some rules. A 9-star Holy Spirit couldn't make a move. Lei Wuxing even guessed that even an 8-star Holy Spirit wouldn't make a move, because that would be too much of a bully. Similarly, the core extremes wouldn't make a move. In the peripheral area of the Holy Thunder Clan, there were planets. The masters of these planets were all low-level existences. Looking at these planets of different sizes in his sight, Lei Zhang Hongtian frowned slightly. He had been in the Holy Thunder Clan for so many years, but he had never been to the peripheral area because there were very few resources here. As the future heir of the Lei Zhang family, he disdained to come to this place. But today he had to come here. As far as Lei Zhang Hongtian could see, he could see many huge planets, but he ignored all of them. Then he saw a planet that was many times smaller than those huge planets. From a distance, it looked like a rock, but it was reflected in his eyes. Found it. His eyes lit up slightly and he flew forward. As he got closer and closer to the planet, the real size of the planet was also revealed. Standing on this planet world, Lei Zhang Hongtian didn't find any restriction on it. He couldn't help but feel a little doubtful. Was this place really his target? He descended and easily entered this planet world. Although this world wasn't big, when he scanned it with his spiritual sense, the only wooden house seemed very small. Outside the wooden house, there was a neat, square vegetable field. An old man with a hunched back was weeding the vegetable field. This scene surprised Lei Zhang Hongtian, so he quickly descended. He cupped his fists at the old man and said politely, "Are you Mr. Zhong? I'm from the Lei Zhang family." Before Lei Zhang Hongtian could finish his words, he was interrupted by the old man's voice. "No, you've got the wrong person." The old man didn't even raise his head. He was still processing the glowing spirit herbs. Comparatively, the vegetables were much more ordinary. It was as if there were some iron lumps in a field of gold. But the owner preferred these useless lumps of iron and threw the gold aside. Lei Zhang Hongtian was stunned. This was the first time someone dared to not give face to the Lei Zhang family. Over the years, he had developed a habit. No matter where he went, as long as he said the words Lei Zhang family, everyone would be in awe. However, this was the first time he had been interrupted before he could finish speaking. Recalling the family's instructions, Lei Zhang Hongtian suppressed his displeasure and said, "Does Mr. Zhong recognize this thing?" A jade cicada appeared in Lei Zhang Hongtian's hand. It looked exceptionally translucent, as if a real jade cicada had fallen asleep and could wake up at any time and fly away. "What's the matter? Speak." The old man looked up at the jade cicada. A complicated look flashed in his eyes as he spoke with an indifferent expression. "The Holy Thunder Clan has issued a kill order for a 5-star Holy Spirit named Zichen. I'd like to trouble Mr. Zhong to set a trap and eliminate him for the Holy Thunder Clan." A kill order? The old man's eyes flashed with surprise, but that was all. He looked at Lei Zhang Hongtian and said indifferently, "Are you the successor of this generation's Lei Zhang family?" Yes. Lei Zhang Hongtian's face was full of pride. The old man snorted and said, "If the Lei Zhang family is really handed over to you, I'm afraid it won't be far from its decline." Lei Zhang Hongtian's face showed a hint of coldness. Obviously, this was a deliberate attempt to belittle him. "Tell me your true intentions, or get lost now. This old man can't be bothered to listen to your nonsense." The old man's face showed anger, but more than that, it was disappointment. He was disappointed in the successor of the Lei Zhang family. Chapter 36:07. Listening to Lei Zhang Hongtian's words, Mr. Zhong sneered and said, "It seems that the Lei Zhang family isn't a fool." Lei Zhang Hongtian was puzzled. What did this have to do with the Lei Zhang family? Mr. Zhong said bluntly, "They know that you're trash and can't support the family, so they're trying to take you down." "Shut up. Who do you think you are to lecture me?" Lei Zhang Hongtian was truly angry. Ever since he had arrived here, this old man had constantly mocked and ridiculed him. Now he had even directly called him a waste. He was a genius, the heir of the Lei Zhang family. He was only one step away from becoming a core member. He had nothing to do with being trash. Although his father told him to be polite to this person before coming here, he really couldn't stand the other party's taunts, because during this time, similar words were constantly heard. "What? You don't agree with this old man's words?" Mr. Zhong didn't seem to want to let him go and continued the topic. "Do you think that if a trash like you becomes the next patriarch, you won't destroy the Lei Zhang family?" Lei Zhang Hongtian said proudly, "As long as the ancestor is here, the Lei Zhang family will never be destroyed." "You're really trash." Mr. Zhong sighed. "The Lei Zhang family is really blind to cultivate a trash like you as the future heir." Looking at the angry Lei Zhang Hongtian, Mr. Zhong said, "For a family to prosper, a strong person is indispensable, but that can only serve as a deterrent. If you want to continue to grow, you must develop well." Lei Zhang Hongtian's eyes showed a touch of impatience. "I'm here to kill you, not to listen to your nonsense." He muttered in his heart. Mr. Zhong smiled coldly and said, "Take out all the information you prepared." When it came to business, Lei Zhang Hongtian restrained his dissatisfaction. The Lei Zhang family had countless geniuses, and there were also many people who could calculate and calculate. However, his father clearly told him to find this person, and the price was not small. At that time, his father made it clear that as long as this person was willing to take on this matter, Zichen would die without a doubt. After this matter was over, his position as the heir of the family would be unshakable. For the sake of his own future, he had come. He was willing to be ignored by the other party. Lei Zhang Hongtian did not falsify the information, nor did he dare to, because as long as the other party came out of seclusion, they would naturally know the news. "Look at the information. This young man named Zichen is much stronger than you," Mr. Zhong said. Lei Zhang Hongtian curled his lips slightly and said disdainfully, "So what? He is going to die in the end, but I will live a good life." Mr. Zhong, who had always looked down on Lei Zhang Hongtian, nodded his head and said, "What a shameless idea. It's a bit like a successor." Lei Zhang Hongtian didn't know whether these words were complimentary or derogatory, but they left him speechless. "Give me the other document." Mr. Zhong held out his hand, and Lei Zhang Hongtian handed him another piece of information. This information was about the competitors to be eliminated. After reading the information, Mr. Zhong said, "Look at this Zichen's route. His final destination should be the limitless starfield." Lei Zhang Hongtian nodded. His father had also guessed this. "What do you suggest, Mr. Zhong?" Lei Zhang Hongtian asked. "Zichen has contributed a lot to the sacred Thunder tribe. Since that's the case, I'll let him die in the Wuju Star region with a bang. This will also be considered as an explanation to him. Looking at Lei Zhang Hongtian, Mr. Zhong said, "You should have already prepared the means to kill him, right?" Lei Zhang Hongtian nodded and said, "When the time is right, we can destroy all his souls in an instant. Let's go, Mr." Zhong glanced at his vegetable field. "When this matter is over, this old man will have nothing to do with the Lei Zhang family. Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Zhong." This time Lei Zhang Hongtian bowed sincerely because his father said that as long as the other party accepted this commission, Zichen would definitely die. After leaving this world, Mr. Zhong said, "We will go directly to the limitless star field. According to the power Zichen has shown, it will not be a problem to get there. Now arrange the manpower, as I said." The first person called by Mr. Zhong was called Lei Jing Hongyan. He was also a direct disciple and a 7-star divine spirit. Although his cultivation level was higher than Lei Jing Hongtian's, he might not be able to defeat Lei Jing Hongtian in a fight. He led 4 7-star divine spirits and 10 6-star divine spirits to a designated location to block Zichen. Looking at the large formation in front of him, Zichen stopped. Those 6-star divine spirits quickly came forward. They knew their fate very well, so they showed their strongest power as soon as they appeared. As long as they could hold on for a few breaths, it would be considered a victory for them. Divine runes appeared in front of Zichen. There were 6 5-star divine runes, and they flew to the front. Thunderclap! Boom! Boom! The divine runes exploded in front of him, turning into a terrifying energy wave that swept over those 6-star divine spirits. The powerful impact caused those 6-star divine spirits to fly backward. Zichen rushed forward, ignoring those 6-star divine spirits, and went straight for the 7-star divine spirits. He did not dare to be careless in the face of such a powerful enemy. The immortal king armor on his body emitted a strong light. 2 heavenly saint arms flew out and sank into Zichen's arms. Buzz! At the same time, the saint bone in Zichen's body was fully activated. Attack! Lei Jing Hongyan's eyes were cold, and in the next moment he launched a powerful attack. The other 7-star saint spirits also made their moves, forming various kinds of attacks. Zichen relied on his extreme speed to shuttle between the energy attacks. Occasionally, he would use the immortal king armor to block one of the attacks. In the blink of an eye, he was already close to the 7-star divine spirits. The immortal spear in his hand stabbed forward. First spear, heaven and earth. Poof! A 7-star divine spirit was directly pierced through the heart. The immortal spear shook. Zichen, who had blocked 2 attacks, turned around and stabbed again. A second 7-star divine spirit was killed. Then a third and a fourth. Zichen was bathed in blood. His immortal spear was stained with blood. The battle lasted for a very short time. In less than a quarter of an hour, all the divine spirits were killed. The 6-star and 7-star divine spirits were all dead. Zichen cleaned up the battlefield and then quickly recovered his energy. He won the battle in a domineering manner, but he knew very well that fighting a 7-star divine spirit was his limit. If an 8-star divine spirit came, he would have to use the lightning controlling technique. Chapter 3608. In the Wuju Star Zone. Mr. Zhong had arrived at this place early in the morning. This was also the place he had chosen to bury Zichen. Speaking of which, Zichen was somewhat related to this place. When he had become a core disciple of the Holy Thunder Clan, he had come to this place on his first mission. At that time, he had single-handedly destroyed a force and even attracted the attention of a sacred venerate. At that time, the spirit ancestor had been guarding him. Mr. Zhong looked at the list in his hand. More than half of the people on the list had been crossed off. They had not really died, but had just lost their strongest state. In the Lei Zhang family's place, once one lost their strongest state, It meant that they had completely lost their qualifications to compete. Mr. Zhong pointed to an area on the map and said, "Let's hold the final battle here." There was a force called Julin there, which had been destroyed because of Zichen. Many people had paid attention to Zichen's incident, but only a few forces had actually taken action. Although Zichen had not really killed a sacred spirit, losing their strongest body had still caused these forces to suffer heavy losses. Zichen, who was covered in blood, had fought his way forward and finally arrived outside the Wuju Star Zone. The guards who were guarding the door immediately retreated when they sensed the dense aura on his body. They knew who this person before them was. During this period, he had already killed dozens of 7-star sacred spirits. There was no need to sacrifice his life for 1 or 2 tolls. Zichen's murderous aura was very dense, but his aura was no longer at its strongest state. The enemies along the way seemed to have been deliberately arranged. Although Zichen had won every time, he had not been able to recover to his strongest state. Over time, his mind had become very tired. The reason he had been able to reach this place was because of his strong willpower. However, Zichen still could not see any hope of survival. There were no rules in the Wuju Star Zone, so he could kill as he pleased. Perhaps this is the end. Zichen walked forward and entered the star field. Mr. Zhong received the news immediately. The first wave of people was already waiting for Zichen on the first planet in the limitless starfield. Appearing from the teleportation array, Zichen felt a strong killing intent. Countless onlookers stayed at a place extremely far away. In the past several hundred years, only 2 major wars had broken out in this star field. The first was when Zichen had first arrived. At that time, he had left a deep impression on the existences of this star field. Right now, the second battle was about to begin. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. Many people in the distance took out crystal balls, clearly wanting to record the upcoming battle. Zichen, surrender and follow me back to the Holy Thunder Clan. Perhaps I will spare your life, the leader of the 7-star sacred spirits said coldly. Why do you still have so much to say at a time like this? Zichen grinned, and there was a hint of malevolence in his smile. Why, do you think you can stand on the side of righteousness just like that? Humph, you really don't know what's good for you. You've been hunted down by the Holy Thunder Clan. On account of your... Before he could finish his words, Zichen interrupted him. Cut the crap. I'll send you on your way first. The light of the holy thunder flickered around his body. The power of the holy bone under his feet was fully activated. Zichen was like a real thunderbolt, instantly flying forward. In an instant, his body turned into a straight ray of light and arrived in front of his opponent. Poof! A clear sound was heard. The 7-star sacred spirit was lifted up by Zichen's spear, and the tip of the spear penetrated his opponent's chest. Killed in one shot. There was an uproar all around. The onlookers did not expect that after so many years, Zichen's combat strength had become even more terrifying. 2 levels higher, 1 shot to kill. But soon their expressions became excited because today's battle was destined to be more exciting than those years ago. More memory crystal balls appeared in the sky, shining down below. Everyone was unwilling to miss this exciting battle. They wanted to record it forever. Kill! The other 7-star sacred spirits from the Holy Thunder Clan shouted one after another. They displayed the ultimate skills of the Holy Thunder Clan and charged toward Zichen. In an instant, all kinds of powerful thunder techniques fell from the sky, bringing with them a vast and mighty intent. Zichen charged in and dodged. When he could not dodge, he used the Celestial King armor to resist. He charged out of the range of the energy fluctuations and charged toward the second 7-star sacred spirit. Poof! Sacred blood splattered in the sky. Another 7-star sacred spirit was penetrated. Then the 3rd, the 4th, and the 4th. Looking at Zichen's battle that was close to a massacre, The onlookers became extremely excited. This battle was indeed much more exciting than those years ago. All 8 7-star sacred spirits were dead, and the price Zichen paid was only blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the blood-stained armor on his body. His eyes were cold and determined. He waved his sleeve and collected the corpses. Then he walked toward the second planet. The crowd was immediately in an uproar. Some people immediately flew toward the battlefield. Even though Zichen had collected the spoils of war, the sacred blood that fell to the ground was still a treasure for many sacred spirits, because it was the 7-star sacred blood. But more people followed. Obviously, there were still people from the Holy Thunder clan on the second planet. Some insiders even knew that many strong people from the Holy Thunder clan had already gathered in this star field. This time, Zichen really did not return. After about 20 breaths, Zichen killed the enemies on the second planet. This time, the price he paid was coughing up a mouthful of blood. Then, Zichen killed his way to the third planet and harvested several 7-star sacred spirits' heads. Such combat strength shocked everyone. It was too terrifying. He was only a 5-star, but he could kill 7-star sacred spirits. Many people were puzzled. Why did the Holy Thunder clan give up on such a powerful genius? It was a pity to lose the soul-gathering crystal mine. But if such a genius was cultivated to 9-star, wouldn't he be called an invincible sacred spirit? What if he could become a sacred venerable? Such a person should be comparable to the soul-gathering crystal mine, right? Zichen attacked the 4th planet. This time, he coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood. His face became pale and he was a little weak. Once he showed his weak state, it would be a fatal threat to Zichen. There were still countless enemies. Mr. Zhong was overseeing the 10th planet. There were no outsiders here, only the sacred spirits of the Holy Thunder clan. There were countless of them. Under such circumstances, how could Zichen survive? Ink and the 6th young master, who had not been seen for a long time, followed the crowd and came to the Wuju star field. They saw Zichen. Lei Wushuang and Lei Wuxing also came. One was the real body and the other was a clone. Lei Ba and Lei Bai also came. They were among the crowd. Chapter 3609. Lightning surged in front of them, and the sky was dyed red. This was the 7th planet. The 6th young master looked at Zichen, whose spear speed was much slower than before, and a smile appeared on his face. This is indeed a grand event. Emoji looked at Zichen with a rare look of admiration on his face. There was also some pity. What a pity, such a rare and wonderful person is going to die soon. This time, it was Lei Jinghongtian who had invited the two of them. Obviously, when Zichen died, Lei Jinghongtian would truly rise to power. There were many spectators like them in the crowd. Many of them were from the Holy Thunder clan. They were the subordinates who had followed Zichen to attack the Immortal Region. Due to the pressure from the Holy Thunder clan, they couldn't do anything. Thus, they all came here, hoping to use this method to send their lord off. Although they didn't know why their lord gave the soul-amassing crystal vein to the death prison pirates, they firmly believed that their lord was definitely not a traitor, because they had fought side by side when had their lord ever done less. Lei Wushuang, who was only a clone, turned to look at Lei Wuxing. Lei Wuxing shook his head and said, "If Holy Sage Lei Di couldn't get here in time, Zichen would definitely die this time." Lei Wushuang seemed to be dissatisfied with this answer. She raised her eyebrows. Lei Wuxing continued, "From the information I gathered, I came to a conjecture. This time, Zichen gave the soul-amassing crystal vein to the death prison pirates because of Lei Lan. Although she had already guessed it, she still couldn't believe it when she heard Lei Wuxing say it. Lei Lan could be exchanged for a soul-amassing crystal vein? He once took 3 pieces of thunder leave to the death prison pirates to exchange for Lei Lan. From there, he went to the immortal region. Lei Wushuang knew very well how valuable Thunder Leave was. Even with her extraordinary status, she had only obtained one piece. Since Zichen was willing to exchange 3 pieces for Leilon, it was not impossible to exchange the soul-amassing crystal load for Leilon. So, this is the reason why you asked Leilon to continue exploring that immortal region, and forbade her from coming into contact with others, and forbade her from returning. It's useless even if she knows. The only one who can save Zichen now is Saint Venerable Lady. Lei Wuxing said, I don't know where the Lord has gone. We haven't heard from him for so long. At this time, Zichen had already killed his way into the 9th world. Everyone followed him. Before entering the world, Zichen swallowed a pill. However, in such a high-intensity battle, this high-quality pill did not have much effect. The surroundings were filled with the thick stench of blood. Zichen's vision was blurred by the blood. He reached out and wiped his face. He held the immortal spear that already had some cracks on it, and a bitter smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You can't hold on anymore. He lowered his head and looked at the immortal king armor. There were already a few dents and cracks on it. Along the way, it was all thanks to this immortal king armor. Otherwise, how could he have reached here? Now, this immortal king armor that had accompanied him all the way was finally coming to an end. Did this mean that he was also coming to an end? He stepped into the teleportation array and arrived on the 10th planet. This place was not like other places where there were already spectators waiting. There were none here. There were only endless thunder auras and powerful holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan with killing intent. This time, there were no longer 7-star holy spirits. There were 6-star, 5-star, and even 4-star holy spirits. There were many of them. Many, many. Among them stood an old man. The reason why he was so eye-catching was because he was releasing the aura of an 8-star holy spirit. Next to him was Lei Zhanghongtian, who was looking at Zichen coldly. The two looked at each other. Lei Zhanghongtian stretched out his palm and drew a line across his neck with a cold expression. Zichen did not look at him, but at the 8-star holy spirit. Mr. Zhong looked at Zichen and said, Young man, you are very strong and very good. You can come here with a strong will to live. I have never seen such a strong will to live. I originally planned to kill you on the spot, no matter the price. But now I have changed my mind. The main thing is that you can kill me, then you will be free. Lei Zhanghongtian was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Mr. Zhong in confusion. It was not like this before. Really. There was hope in Zichen's eyes. This old man means what he says. Mr. Zhong said, As long as you can kill this old man, you will be free. Zichen's eyes flashed, and he was ready to form a seal. At this moment, many holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan rushed toward Zichen like a torrent. In an instant, hundreds of attacks appeared, blotting out the sky and covering the earth with a powerful force. If Zichen continued to form seals, he would probably be killed on the spot. His immortal king armor, which was already cracked, would not be able to withstand so many attacks. He held the immortal spear and rushed forward. As he moved forward, dozens of holy talismans appeared. They were thunderstrikes. Boom! 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 After these holy talismans appeared, they exploded in an instant, forming a terrifying wave that sent many holy spirits flying. Then, nearly 100 heavenly saint arms appeared. Then they turned into nearly 100 huge arms and flew in all directions. Boom! 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 Group after group of holy spirits that rushed forward coughed up blood and flew backward. Some were seriously injured, and some were directly destroyed. After the appearance of nearly 100 heavenly saint arms, more than 50 thunderstrikes appeared. The mighty thunder force spread out, forming wave after wave. No one could get close to Zichen at this time, but at the same time, Zichen could not form seals at this time because the sky was full of attacks. He was confident that he could kill the old man in one move. He only needed a few breaths of time to catch his breath. But obviously Mr. Zhong had already expected this, which was why he gave Zichen this almost non-existent hope. As the powerful energy vibrated, the 7-star holy spirits rushed forward with the crowd, and various killing moves appeared. Poof! 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 Holy blood splattered, and holy spirits died one after another. But more holy spirits rushed forward. Boom! The immortal spear in Zichen's hand finally exploded after withstanding countless attacks. Then, dozens of attacks of different strengths landed on his body, causing his immortal king armor to shatter directly. At this point, Zichen's strongest defense had been disintegrated. Kill! Amidst the deafening battle cries, countless holy spirits rushed toward Zichen like a torrent. Zichen raised his head and looked at the countless attacks in the sky, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Since it was the last moment, he would fight with all his might. If he could kill one, he would naturally gain one more. Lei Zhang Hongtian walked forward, a cold light flashing in his eyes. He would be the one to make the final blow that would destroy the soul. At this time, a holy venerate aura suddenly appeared outside the boundless starfield. Chapter 3610. Lady's eyes were filled with violence. Lightning surged around him, and the surrounding space seemed to be shattered. He had arrived outside Wuju's star zone and was about to barge in. The rules of the star field were nothing in his eyes. Suddenly, another bolt of lightning descended from the sky. It was the second sacred master of the Holy Thunder Clan, Lei Zhang. Lady, you shouldn't have come. Lei Zhang looked at Lady and said coldly, "Who do you think you are? How dare you tell me what to do?" Lady's eyes were filled with killing intent. "Get lost!" He moved forward quickly and threw a punch at Lei Zhang's face. In an instant, time seemed to have stopped. Lady's fist was like a shooting star that flew through the still space. There was a loud boom, and the entire world shook. Lei Zhang was pushed back 100 feet. "Enough, Lady!" Lei Zhang was furious. "Do you know what you are doing? If Zichen dies, I will bury all of your Leijing clan with him. Tell me, do I know what I'm doing?" The killing intent around Lei Zhang's body had completely materialized and then transformed into a sword of killing. "You are crazy!" Lei Zhang's face changed. Lady, who had used the killing sword, wasn't just for show. Virum! The void trembled. The killing sword emitted a misty light as it flew forward. The move seemed fast and slow at the same time. The space seemed to have stopped and sped up at the same time. It gave one a hallucinatory feeling. In actual fact, time was already messed up. Looking at the sword light that was still quite a distance away from him, Lei Zhang took out a beam of light. Clang! In the next instant, there was an attack, and there was a strong fluctuation in the space. The killing sword that was far away had disappeared. There was a deep cut on the light shield in Lord Lei Zhang's hand. His body was pushed back another 100 feet. Within 100 feet, there were countless spaces. In other words, Lei Zhang had been pushed back countless spaces by Lady. In terms of distance, it was tens of thousands of miles. "Enough! You and I are both sacred masters. You won't be able to pass." Lei Zhang, who was holding the light shield, said indifferently, "You're just a tortoiseshell. If I hit you a few more times, I'll be able to break it." Lady's voice was cold, and his killing intent did not diminish. "Lady, I'll stop this annoying guy. You go save them." At this moment, a tender voice rang out. The spirit ancestor suddenly appeared. She was a cute and playful little girl, but she was the holy sage of the Holy Thunder Clan. All right, Lady withdrew his sword and disappeared. Around the spirit ancestor, rays of green light were released. They were like vines that pierced through space and wrapped around the Legion Saint. "Spirit ancestor, Are you trying to ruin our clan's plans? Saint Lei Zhang was enraged. What bullsh** T big deal. We just want Zichen to survive. A ripple spread out, and Lei Di felt a powerful force appear, forcibly tearing him out of the space. Lei Di appeared, looking at the person in front of him with anger. You are the one behind this. The person standing in front of him was Lei Zhanku. He was known as the strongest person in the Holy Thunder Clan, and also the most ancient existence. After so many years of waiting, we need an answer, Lei Zhanku said. But not now. Lei Di said unhappily, You are deliberately harming him. Lei Zhanku said, Since we are sure that he is that person, then he is immortal. Even if his soul is destroyed this time, he will still have a way to be reborn. After being reborn, will he still be Zichen? Lei Di questioned. Lei Zhanku said, He is no longer the Zichen of the past. As the person he trusted the most, you should know this best. He is indeed different from the past, but he has become more responsible for the Holy Thunder Clan and more like a person. This time, what did he do for the Holy Thunder Clan? You should know very well. He has risked his life countless times for the Holy Thunder Clan, just to do as much as possible for this clan. Lei Di said discontentedly. Even so, you still want to sacrifice him for a non-existent answer. The moment Zichen lost the Immortal King armor, his fate was sealed. Zichen was also prepared to die in battle, but obviously he was not willing to be killed like this. Many attacks fell on his body, and some wounds appeared on his strong body. Without the immortal spear, he still had the devil blade. Wang. The devil blade was unsheathed, and it turned into a saber arc that swept forward. Puff! 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 Blood splashed in all directions as human heads were sent flying into the air one after another, along with the souls of saint spirits who were trying to escape. Swoosh! From Zichen's sea of consciousness, a bolt of lightning flew out. It was the Holy Spirit flying dagger. He was rapidly wiping out those fleeing souls. Whoosh! Hundreds of holy talismans flew out. They were thunder dashing. This was the last thunder dashing holy talisman he had, and it was a 5-star holy talisman. Countless roars resounded through heaven and earth, and the terrifying power of thunder swept across a radius of thousands of feet. Within this range, all the holy spirits, including Zichen himself, were attacked indiscriminately. As the thunder roared, Zichen attacked again. One attack after another, he reaped the lives of the holy spirits. After the power of thunder dashing disappeared, more holy talismans flew out in front of Zichen. They were the heavenly saint arms. They turned into huge arms and flew forward. During this time, 2 holy talismans sank into Zichen's arms. The holy talismans on him were also gone. The ground was covered with corpses. More and more saint spirits rushed toward him. They were not afraid of death, because they could be reborn after death. One attack after another landed on Zichen. Chi! Chi! Wounds appeared on Zichen's body one after another. It was as if he had been dismembered. There were even some wounds where his bones could be seen. Facing such intense pain, Zichen was expressionless. He unsheathed his demon saber and drew an arc in front of him. More than a dozen holy spirits were beheaded. Their escaping souls were immediately destroyed by the Holy Spirit flying dagger. At this time, Zichen had been standing in place for a long time. It was not that he did not want to, but that he was powerless. He did not dodge or avoid. He just exchanged a life for a life. The people in the distance were very moved, but they also knew that Zichen was an arrow at the end of its flight. He could fall at any time. Everyone had to admit that his combat strength was very strong, but there were too many opponents. It was impossible to kill them all. He did not die in battle. He was killed by exhaustion by countless people. It had to be said that this way of dying was very sullen. Mr. Zhong looked at Zichen in front of him who was still attacking. Seeing that he had not fallen, his indifferent expression changed. He felt that it was a pity and a little sad that such a great existence had died in internal strife. If it were not for the fact that they were on different sides, he really wanted to help him. Go, complete your mission. From today onwards, I have nothing to do with the Lei Jing family. Lei Zhang Hongtian walked forward without the slightest gratitude to Mr. Zhong. This was because this was a deal and it had been completed. At the same time, Mr. Zhong waved his hand. Behind him, those experts who hadn't moved yet immediately rushed forward. They passed by Ziqin and stood in the air. They coldly looked at the crowd in front of them in a state of alert. Obviously, they were guarding against some people who would suddenly help them. At the same time, there were a few strangers beside Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang. Their auras were locked on to the two of them. Ziqin's attack speed became very slow. He could no longer kill a single person. At this moment, there was no intact skin on his body. He was covered in blood, but he still stood upright. He held the demonic saber tightly in his hand. He had not given up. He was exhausted, and his injuries had reached a limit. Death was just a matter of time. At this moment, the crowd stopped and separated to the sides. Lei Zhang Hongtian walked over from behind. He looked at Ziqin in front of him, who was covered in blood, and smiled coldly. You didn't expect this, did you? The one who has the last laugh is still me. Now I'll send you on your way. Lei Zhang Hongtian walked toward Ziqin and said telepathically, Don't worry, I'll destroy your soul at the first moment. Ziqin swung his saber, but it was easily blocked by Lei Zhang Hongtian's left hand. At this time, the saber could do nothing to him. You're finally going to die. All of your gains will belong to me, Lei Zhang Hongtian. A short blade with a strong soul aura stabbed directly toward Ziqin's chest. This was his trump card, soul-severing blade. Chapter 36:11. The appearance of Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang was to see if they could give Ziqin some help at a critical moment. For example, they could preserve a trace of his soul and let him be quietly resurrected. Based on the current commotion caused by the Lei Jing family, it was natural that they were aiming to eliminate Ziqin. However, Mr. Zhong had obviously anticipated this. Before Ziqin died, he had already sent people to guard against the two of them, as well as the people around them. At this moment, Ziqin was facing a fatal blow, the severing soul blade. This was specially prepared by the Lei Zhang family to deal a fatal blow to Ziqin. Once this blade fell on Ziqin, all of Ziqin's soul would be destroyed in an instant, and then he would die. In the Tianwu world, Lei Zhang Hongfang walked out of his room and stood in Ziqin City, laughing loudly and feeling very proud. In a moment, this world would change hands. He would use his great magical power to preserve the integrity of this world. The people around him shook their heads. Many existences who had fought side by side with Ziqin shook their heads, feeling sorry for him. Ziqin no longer had the strength to wield the demonic blade and could only watch as the severing soul blade moved forward. Suddenly, the world quieted down. The surrounding time and space were in a state of stillness. A mysterious and unfathomable power descended from the sky and enveloped the entire world. Everyone's various expressions froze. The severing soul blade was an inch away from Ziqin and stopped moving forward. Lei Zhang Hongtian's ferocious smile also froze. A light gate suddenly appeared in the sky, as if it came from another time and space. A tall, middle-aged man walked out of the light gate. He looked down and watched everything indifferently. Finally, his gaze fixed on Ziqin. Looking at the incomparably miserable man, he frowned slightly and whispered, "This is too miserable." Miserable? If you were in his position, you would have died long ago. A dissatisfied voice came from behind him. It was a young woman who was surrounded by a hazy light, making it impossible for others to see her true appearance. "I told you to come earlier, but you didn't agree. Look at you now. The hazy woman complained. Without going through hardships, how can I, without waiting for the burly man to finish his words, the woman said, what you said makes sense. Why don't I put you down and train you, so that you can be like a treasured sword and become sharper? While the two of them were conversing, the surrounding space and time were still in a frozen state. Even everyone's thoughts were still. Forget it, let's save him first. If we delay any longer, this guy will die. The middle-aged man shook his head and sighed. How tragic. Back then he died tragically, and this time he died even more tragically. Cut the crap, let's go. The woman snorted coldly, turned around, and walked back into the door of light. The burly man waved his hand, and Zichen suddenly disappeared. The middle-aged man turned around, and the light door disappeared. The frozen space and time returned to normal. Lei Zhanghongtian's face bloomed with a hideous smile, and the severing soul blade in his hand suddenly stabbed forward. The smile on his face froze. Because the severing soul blade missed, Zichen, who should have been killed, disappeared in front of his eyes. Where did he go? Lei Zhanghongtian looked around, his face full of doubts. There was an uproar around, and everyone was puzzled. Why did Zichen disappear? Mr. Zhong's expression changed, and he was a little confused. He didn't notice anything strange before, and he didn't even sense the aura of a sacred venerate. So, how did Zichen disappear? The crowd was in an uproar. A person had actually disappeared without a trace. Why was that? Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang looked at each other, and they saw the shock in each other's eyes. It was definitely not a sacred venerate, because they could feel the aura of a sacred venerate. However, when Zichen disappeared, there was no sign. When he disappeared, Lei Zhanghongtian looked back at Mr. Zhong, asking for his help. Mr. Zhong was also puzzled, but he still maintained his rationality and said, "Let's look around, maybe he's nearby." Everyone heard him and dispersed. During this time, many people retrieved their memory crystal balls to check the contents. But Zichen seemed to have disappeared in an instant, and there was no abnormality. How can this be? Sixth young master asked, puzzled. How can a person disappear into thin air? Emoji slowly shook his head. Obviously, he couldn't explain why. So, everyone dispersed, and almost all of them went to look for Zichen. They wanted to know where Zichen went after he suddenly disappeared. When there was no one left, the aura of a sacred venerate suddenly appeared. It was Lei Jinka, and beside him stood sacred venerate Lei Di. Did you see? It's not a guess, it's true. Lei Jinka said excitedly he was the one they chose, and he is still the one. Only he knows the coordinates. Sacred venerate Lei Di was shocked. Previously, he only felt a mysterious energy that isolated everything around him, and even blocked him, a sacred venerate, from entering. However, this energy came quickly and disappeared even faster. Before he could sense it carefully, it had disappeared. When it disappeared, it seemed to have left the saint spirit realm, and there was no trace to be found. As the ruler of this place, you have an innate advantage. Did you feel anything strange before? Lei Jinka suddenly asked. I only felt a mysterious energy suddenly enter, but I couldn't see anything else. That person called Zichen was taken away by that mysterious energy. A person appeared out of thin air, and it was the sacred venerate of the Wujiu star field. He asked doubtfully, Is there a power in this world that we don't know about? Lei Jinka's lips curled into a mocking smile. How much do you know about this world? The ruler of the Wujiu star field didn't dare to refute, because there were differences in strength between sacred venerates. He didn't fear the spiritual ancestor of the Holy Thunder clan, but he didn't dare to challenge Lei Jinka. Let's go. Lei Jinka turned around, broke through space, and disappeared. Sacred venerate Lei Di looked down, and his expression changed. No one knew what he was thinking. The next moment he disappeared as well. The last one was the ruler of the Wuju starfield. Previously, he had carefully searched every corner of this starfield, and there was no trace of Zi Chen's aura. In other words, the other party was no longer in this starfield. In the Tianwu world, Lei Jinghong was laughing. However, after looking at the world for a long time and seeing no changes, he couldn't laugh anymore. The passers-by looked at him as if he was an idiot. Zi Chen, who everyone was looking for, was in a unique space. In this space, the most eye-catching thing was an ancient tree. It was like a canopy that covered the sky. It was a thunder tree. Chapter 36:12. It was a thunder tree. The thunder tree was filled with fruits. There were many fruits, and they came in all shapes and sizes. Every one of them emitted a bright light. Zi Chen was lying under the thunder tree. The wounds on his body were still there. It was a ghastly sight. Fortunately, the bleeding had stopped. His aura was extremely weak. His soul fire was like a candle flame in the dark night. It kept flickering and could be extinguished at any time. The woman who brought him back looked at the wounds on Zi Chen's body. She turned around and scolded the burly man. The burly man sat beside the tree roots and did not say a word. "What are you waiting for? Don't you know how to be more conscious with such serious injuries?" The woman raised her voice and was very displeased. The burly man knew that she was not talking to him, so he did not respond. The branches of the thunder tree, which was even larger than the ancestral tree of the Holy Thunder clan, began to sway. Then, a fruit that looked like a baby fell off on its own. It turned into a ray of light and entered Zi Chen's body. It was called the Holy Infant Fruit. It was an extremely rare, sacred treasure in the Saint Spirit world. Not only could it heal injuries, but it could also cleanse the body and reconstruct it. As the energy of the Holy Infant Fruit spread through his body, Zi Chen's injuries gradually improved. The ghastly wounds began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. As for his aura, it was still very weak. The woman's slender eyebrows twitched slightly. However, before she could continue speaking, the branches of the thunder tree swayed again and another fruit fell. It was a round fruit that exuded an extremely rich soul aura. It was something called the heart of the saint soul. It was specifically targeted at the soul. Even if a person who had just died not long ago consumed it, it could instantly condense their soul power that had dissipated in the world once again with great magical power. As the fruit entered his glabella, Zi Chen's soul aura, which was a candle flame, began to grow. At this point, Zi Chen's life was saved. However, if the world knew that Zi Chen had used 2 precious medicines, who knew what they would think? His aura gradually recovered. The woman's face revealed a satisfied expression for the first time. Then, she raised her head again and looked at the countless fruits on the thunder tree. She said, "Your old friend is here. Aren't you going to show your appreciation?" The burly man grinned. It was indeed so. Lei Shu didn't respond this time. He is so weak, and his injuries are so serious. His body is almost crippled. Isn't this the best time to build his foundation? The woman pointed at the many fruits on the thunder tree. "You have so many good things. Is it just to look good? Do you believe that I won't shoot them all down and eat them like wild fruits?" The burly man patted the trunk of the thunder tree and said, "Old friend, don't you see who's here? Otherwise, if we really anger Lady Han, both of us won't be able to bear the consequences." The indifferent thunder tree began to sway again, but no fruit fell. "Sai, I'm different from you. Didn't I go to save someone? Consider it a greeting gift." The brawny man said, "You're different. You're here to watch the show. Moreover, you're so stingy. Not to mention Lady Han. Even I can't stand it anymore." "What? You mean what happened back then? How many years has it been? You still remember? Look at how weak he is now. Do you still remember his expression back then? Moreover, that was back then. This is now. They are 2 different things. Hey, old friend, don't be so stingy. No matter what, this is an old friend of ours, right?" The thunder tree swayed again. What, you said that the last time he came, he already plundered you once? Hey, old friend, what era was that? Look at him now. How would he dare to plunder you again? Listening to the brawny man's nagging, the woman finally lost all her patience. She looked back at the thunder tree and said, "Are you going to give it to me or not? Do you believe that I won't cut off your roots on the spot?" The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped. It was as if the weather of early spring had suddenly turned into winter. Whoa! The thunder tree could clearly feel the change in temperature. The tree began to sway. More fruits fell from the sky and entered Zi Chen's body. This time, the fruits were no longer used to save his life. Instead, they turned into a torrent and entered Zi Chen's body. It was like a flame that burned around him. This was calcining. It was like refining weapons in the world, constantly burning the impurities and leaving the purest part. Zi Chen's body was on fire. The flames were extremely fierce. Whoosh! The second fruit fell. The flames surged again. The color became darker and eventually turned light blue. The thunder tree was still swaying. The third fruit flew down. The light blue flames turned dark blue. Whoosh! At this moment, the thunder tree seemed to have become incomparably generous. The fourth fruit fell. The flames turned from blue to purple. The fifth fruit, the light purple color, turned dark purple. The sixth fruit turned from dark purple to black. The seventh, eighth, ninth, the same fruit, but this time the thunder tree directly threw out 10. Ancient 10 refinement techniques. Coupled with a unique treasure, this could be considered a great opportunity. The aura around the ice lady became colder, but she did not continue to flare up. The brawny man shook his head. It seemed that the thunder tree was really vengeful. He still could not forget what happened back then. The ancient 10 refinement techniques were indeed a great opportunity, but what one had to endure during this period was also great pain. It was as if one was placed in a furnace and was being refined from the inside out. It could be said that the flames burned through every part of one's body. At this moment, the flames surrounding Zi Chen's body had returned to their original color. This was called returning to one's natural state, but it was even more terrifying. These flames were like fire dragons swimming in Zi Chen's body. His blood, bones, and meridians were all changing. Even though he was unconscious, the pain still made Zi Chen's face contort involuntarily. The pain was unbearable. However, the great pain was accompanied by a great opportunity. All the bones in Zi Chen's body were condensed again. In addition, the flaws in the originally condensed saint bone also appeared. After being refined again, the saint bone was sparkling and translucent, as if it was made of glass. There were no more hidden dangers in his body. The brawny man who had been sizing up Zi Chen suddenly stood up and walked toward Zi Chen. When he came closer, he carefully examined Zi Chen's chest. He could see that there were wisps of black energy, and no matter how hard the flames burned, they couldn't be removed. It was as if this power had merged with Zi Chen's life. This was the after effect of Zi Chen cultivating the black flame technique. It was just that Zi Chen had never found this power. However, under the 10 refinement techniques, this power could no longer be hidden. Chapter 36:13. Zi Chen didn't know what was going on in the outside world. When Lei Zhenghongtian was about to attack, he had already lost consciousness. His action of swinging the knife was just subconscious. Everything was an instinctive reaction engraved in his bones. He wasn't even aware that he had been saved. When he gradually regained consciousness, the first thing he felt was pain. Excruciating pain. "I'm not dead yet." The feeling of pain naturally meant that he wasn't dead yet. This was the first thought that appeared in Zi Chen's mind. The Leijing family had spent so much effort to kill him. Zi Chen didn't think that they simply wanted to kill his physical body. Therefore, the other party would definitely destroy his soul completely. He was very surprised that he wasn't dead yet. Then he felt as if his whole body was burning. It was as if countless fire dragons were running around in his body. Zichen had never experienced that kind of pain before. He couldn't help but scream, "It's the Leizhen clan who caught me and tortured me." Zichen had this thought in his mind. But what was the point of torturing him? Were they going to kill him after torturing him? But soon he noticed that something was wrong. The injuries on his body had all healed. In addition, his originally weak soul had not only recovered to its original state, but it was even stronger than before. What's going on? The Leizhen family was torturing me. Why did they help me recover from my injuries? Doubts arose in his mind. After careful observation, Zichen discovered the source of the problem. Although these fire dragons were violent, every time they swam around in his body, they would temper his body. Countless impurities would be calcined and turned into nothingness. After Zichen calmed down, he discovered that there were impurities even in his saint bones. How could there be impurities in his saint bones? Was this an illusion? After pondering for a moment, Zichen calmed his mind and began to deliberately control the fire dragons. Even if it was an illusion, he had to seize this opportunity to become stronger. After all, becoming stronger couldn't be wrong. As he activated his cultivation method, the uncontrollable fire dragons gradually gathered together and began to swim around his body. Although the pain was unbearable compared to death, this pain was nothing. After gradually gaining control of the fire dragon, Zichen realized that this fire dragon was very unusual. It was like the purest flame in the world. Wherever it passed, all the impurities in the body would appear. This made Zichen very excited. Obviously, after this tempering, his physical body would be tougher and stronger than before. When the fire dragon entered his blood and passed through his heart, Zichen suddenly discovered that there was a special black power in his heart. The moment he saw this power, his soul trembled. This was the power brought about by the black flame technique. Once his injuries were extremely serious, it would automatically devour his life, causing it to disappear into nothingness. He had seen many people die because of it, so when he was cultivating, he had looked inside himself time and time again, but he had never found this power. He didn't expect to see it now. Since the fire dragon could expel the impurities in its body, could the fire dragon treat this energy as an impurity and refine it? Thus, Zichen controlled the fire dragon and deliberately wandered around the area. However, he soon despaired. Not only was this energy not refined by the fire dragon, but it even borrowed the power of the fire dragon to make it even purer. As he continued to refine it, Zichen had an absurd feeling in his heart. This energy seemed to have fused with his life. If he wanted to completely eliminate it, he would have to die. His heart instantly sank to the bottom of the valley. He originally thought that he was different from others and could suppress this energy, but now it seemed that he was no different from others. Once he was seriously injured, he would die. Just as Zichen was feeling depressed and despaired, a gentle voice echoed in his sea of consciousness. Don't waste this opportunity. Continue tempering your body. You don't need to care about this demonic fire energy. This voice was very unfamiliar, but for some reason, after hearing this voice, Zichen's mind completely relaxed. It was as if he had seen an old friend and heard the most familiar and trusted voice. He no longer cared about the inexplicable energy in his heart and began to use the fire dragon to temper his body. In the outside world, Han Nu, who had sent a voice transmission, looked at the burly man. The burly man patted his chest loudly. Don't worry, leave it to me. It's just a mere demonic fire energy. Do you think you can overturn the heavens? Then the burly man said proudly, Humph, this time I'll make them go for wool and come home shorn. Zichen had already woken up and was no longer in danger. Han Nu walked to the side. The thunder tree no longer swayed. Instead, it quietly looked at Zichen. The burly man squatted next to him and looked at Zichen. He shook his head and said, miserable, You're really miserable in this life. Zi Chen could not hear the other party's voice. The power of the fire dragon gradually disappeared. The ancient 10 refinement method had reached its final stage. After all the power disappeared, Zichen opened his eyes. At this moment, not only had his injuries healed, but his body had also been reborn. Although his cultivation level had not improved, it was more stable. His cultivation foundation was more solid, and his combat strength had risen to another level. After that, he saw the thing in front of him clearly. A burly man squatted in front of him, like a farmer who had just returned from the fields. Then, Zi Chen saw an ancient tree. It was a thunder tree, and it was extremely huge. Zi Chen was stunned. Lightning ancestor? This thunder tree was exactly the same as the tree of the thunder ancestor, but it was much, much bigger than the tree of the thunder ancestor. The number and variety of fruits on it were also much greater. Hey, you can't see such a big living person in front of you. Why are you looking at that tree first? The burly man said with some dissatisfaction. Where is this? Zichen looked at the burly man. Senior, did you save me? The burly man nodded with a smile and said, Not bad, you know your manners. It's really comfortable to call me senior. We saved you. At this moment, the female voice from before sounded again. Zichen saw a young woman walking over. This was a person who would be remembered at a glance. In addition to her peerless beauty, she also had a unique temperament. However, Zi Chen was very sure that he had never seen her before. But just now he felt a sense of familiarity and intimacy in his heart. Thank you. Zi Chen hurriedly got up and cupped his fists to thank her. You're welcome. I'm Han Nu and he's Cheng Ho. Han Nu pointed at the burly man beside her. Zi Chen thanked Cheng Ho again. The other party had a smug look on his face, but after Han Nu glared at him, he withdrew his smug expression. Where is this place? Why is there a thunder tree of our holy thunder clan? Zi Chen looked at the thunder tree in front of him and said, Moreover, this thunder tree looks older than our lightning ancestors' tree. Cheng Ho smiled and said, You're being modest. This thunder tree is much older than the holy thunder clans. Do you know how the holy thunder clan's thunder tree came about? Zi Chen shook his head. Zhong Hao said, That's because there was a guy who came here by chance. When he saw the thunder tree, he had an idea. So he dug out a part of the tree's root. Zi Chen's eyes widened in shock when he heard this. Chapter 36:14. Seeing Zi Chen's shocked expression, even the thunder tree seemed to be very proud and began to sway. Cheng Ho was also very proud. Han Nu looked at Zi Chen's expression, and her expression became complicated for no reason. Sure enough, he couldn't remember anything. Thank you for saving my life, seniors. My name is Zi Chen, and I'm from the Holy Thunder Clan. Zi Chen came back to his senses and hurriedly said, You grew up in the Holy Thunder Clan. Cheng Ho suddenly asked, No, I ascended from a place called the Myriad Spirit Realm, but I mastered the techniques of the Thunder Clan, so I eventually returned to the Holy Thunder Clan. Zi Chen explained, Since you're a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, why were you hunted down by your own clansmen? Cheng Ho asked again, We happened to pass by there last time and saw your clansmen. They wanted to destroy your soul. Zi Chen knew that they were talking about Lei Zhang Hongtian. He hesitated for a moment before saying, Because I gave the soul-gathering crystal mine to the enemy. The Holy Thunder Clan suffered great losses, so they issued a kill order for me. Soul-gathering crystal mine? Cheng Ho asked doubtfully, In the current Saint Spirit Realm, is there a place where a soul-gathering crystal mine can appear? This matter involved a secret, so Zi Chen didn't know whether he should say it or not. At this moment, Han Nu suddenly said, There might be a soul-gathering crystal mine in the place where that mansion is. Chung Ho suddenly said. You're talking about that Soul Palace? Zi Chen's eyes lit up and he asked, Seniors, do you know that place? Chung Ho glanced at Zi Chen and snorted. We don't know, but we know that guy. It's said that in the current world, only his soul palace has such an effect. There's no other soul-gathering crystal mine. Zi Chen was shocked once again. These two people actually knew the previous owner of the mansion. It seemed that they were also very powerful existences. Originally, he had already guessed, but now he was almost certain that these two people were holy venerables. Seeing that Zi Chen's expression didn't change other than shock, Chung Ho shook his head regretfully. Han Nu's expression became even more complicated. What do you plan to do next? Han Nu asked. Zi Chen smiled and said, Although I gave the soul-gathering crystal lode to the enemy, they can't mine it for the time being. My idea was to find a place to cultivate and take back the soul-gathering crystal lode when I broke through to 6-star. The idea was beautiful, but the process was too horrible to look at. Zi Chen smiled bitterly and said, It's just that I overestimated myself. If it weren't for the two seniors saving me, I'm afraid I wouldn't have this chance. Senior, that's too unpleasant. You can just call me Frost Maiden, Frost Maiden said. How can that be? Zi Chen was obviously unwilling. Chung Ho didn't want either. He felt that calling him senior sounded good. The thunder tree also swayed, expressing its opinion. He also felt that the word senior was very appropriate. Then call me big sister. Han Nu said again. It settled. From now on, you can call me big sister Han Nu. Chung Ho's eyes lit up, and he said, Kid, you've taken advantage of me. From now on, you can call me brother-in-law Chung Ho. Bang! Chung Ho was sent flying and smashed into the thunder tree. His entire body sank into the tree, and the thunder tree began to shake. Zi Chen looked up at the leaves, but unfortunately none of them fell. One had to know that the leaves of the lightning tree in the Holy Thunder clan could be used to comprehend martial techniques. Then, what about the leaves of the thunder tree here? Chung Ho fell from the tree, and the human-shaped mark returned to normal. Chung Ho said, Then you can call me Big Brother Chung Ho. As if worried that Han Nu wouldn't agree, he hurriedly said, Next, I'll teach you the ancient thunder flame technique. You can erase the power of the fire demon in your body. The power of the fire demon is the black energy in my heart that can't be dispersed? Zi Chen asked. That's right. However, after I teach you the ancient thunder flame technique, I feel that you shouldn't erase the power of the fire demon. Instead, you should directly devour it. Why? Because after you devour its power, you can devour a similar power when you encounter it. Chung Ho sneered. Didn't they want to devour you? Then you can devour them and use their power to strengthen yourself. Okay. Zi Chen didn't hesitate and nodded. This time, the death prison pirates almost killed him, so he didn't have any psychological burden for revenge. Comprehend it carefully. Chung Ho walked toward Zi Chen. After getting close, he pointed at Zi Chen's forehead, and light bloomed on his fingertip. A beam of soul light entered Zi Chen's forehead. This was a lightning cultivation technique, the ancient thunder flame technique. This was a sublimated version of the power of holy lightning. The power of holy lightning cultivated by this technique would become the ancient thunder flame, and its power would naturally be stronger. Zi Chen sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend this technique. Han Nu sat to the side and watched silently as Zi Chen comprehended. Chung Ho stood to the side and said, It looks like we've been exposed. What do you plan to do next? Han Nu said indifferently, So what if we've been exposed? Can they still find this place? I mean, what about him? He can't just stay here forever, right? After all, he's too weak, Chung Ho said. Once he's comprehended the ancient thunder flame and gotten rid of all future threats, he'll naturally return to where he came from. But Chung Ho was a little hesitant. No one will harm him. let alone in this situation, Han Nu said. The reason why he's in danger this time is because someone wants to use him to test our existence. Chung Ho nodded. Although they didn't notice anything unusual when they appeared previously, they naturally knew the reason for all of this according to their plan. His death back then was probably related to this matter. Zi Qin seemed to have evaporated from the world. After suddenly disappearing, no trace of him could be found. The Leijing family searched every place in this star field, but they still couldn't find Zi Qin. After that, they retreated earlier than everyone else, because the Lord had already said that Zi Chen was no longer here. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang also returned. Zi Chen's sudden disappearance surprised them, but they were more happy. This was because Zi Chen, who had disappeared, was very likely to be alive. As long as he was alive, there would naturally be hope. How could this be? How could a person just disappear without a trace? The sixth young master who followed Mo Ji out of the Wuju star field still couldn't believe it. Mo Ji shook his head. For some reason, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. It seemed that something unforeseen would happen to Zi Qin. Although most of the people who came had left, the Wuju star field was still very lively. The video of Zi Chen's battle was also widely sold. Seeing Zi Chen's great power in the crystal ball, everyone was extremely shocked. It was hard to imagine that this was the battle power of a 5-star Holy Spirit. In the end, Zi Chen, who was about to die, suddenly disappeared in the video as if he had evaporated from the Saint Spirit sector. Chapter 36:15. Discussions about Zi Chen could often be heard in the taverns, big and small. After this battle, Zi Chen's name had spread throughout the entire Saint Spirit sector. All the forces were talking about him. During this period, the most discussed topic was where Zi Chen had gone after he disappeared. But no one knew. In that place that called itself the Immortal Region, there were many existences like Lei Lan, and they were still searching for various fortuitous encounters. Even though Lei Wushuang purposely blocked the news, Lei Lan still heard a lot about Zi Chen. In fact, she blamed herself. Zi Chen couldn't have handed over the soul-amassing crystal mine to the death prison star pirates for no reason. She knew how much Zi Chen hated them. But Lei Lan knew that she had a lot to do with why Zi Chen handed over the soul-amassing crystal mine. Other than himself, the pirates of the death prison had nothing else that could threaten Zi Chen. In other words, the culprit that caused Zi Chen to be hunted down by the Holy Thunder Clan was actually her. But so what if she knew? She was only a 4-star. She couldn't change anything. After Zi Chen disappeared for a whole year, Lei Wushuang found Lei Lan and said, "You can go back now." "Is there news about Zi Chen?" Lei Lan's eyes lit up. She looked at Lei Wushuang with hope. Lei Wushuang shook his head. "No, but his Qianwu world is still intact. He should still be alive." "Oh!" Lei Lan replied and became dejected once again. "The mining here is almost done. You can go back to the Holy Thunder Clan. The Holy Thunder Clan will give you the contribution you deserve this time," Lei Wushuang said. "What about Zi Chen?" Lei Lan asked again. Because Zi Chen made a big mistake, the resources that should be given to him have been temporarily held back. Seeing the unwillingness in Lei Lan's eyes, Lei Wushuang continued. "Actually, this is already the best result. I heard that it was because of Holy Master Lei Di. Otherwise, all of Zi Chen's gains would have been given to the Leijing family. Why should we give it to them? They were the ones who wanted to harm Zi Chen." Lei Lan was clearly very angry. Because this time the Leijing family represented justice and carried out the orders of the Holy Thunder Clan, resulting in heavy casualties. Lei Wushuang smiled. However, there was an unconcealable ridicule in his smile. The Leijing family was really good at scheming. Not only did he want to kill Zi Chen, but he also wanted to take away all of his gains. However, They had never expected that Zi-Chun would not die and that Saint Venerable Lei Di would return, causing the Lei Zheng family's plan to fail completely. Speaking of which, this time, the Lei Zheng family's efforts were all for naught, and their losses were huge. He hadn't gotten anything yet. After the exploration of this place came to an end, Lei Lan chose to return to the Holy Thunder clan. At this time, of course, no one dared to cause trouble for her. This was because all the forces in the know knew that Saint Venerable Lei Di was in a violent rage. Under his anger, the Lei Zheng family, who was already having a hard time, had recently become even worse. Zi-Chin sat cross-legged. An entire year had passed. During this year, he had been comprehending the ancient thunder flame technique and had not moved at all. Han Nu and Cheng Ho would often leave. Sometimes they would go out for a few days, and sometimes they would go out for months. The two of them did not care too much about Zi-Chen's lack of progress in his cultivation. If the ancient thunder flame was so easy to cultivate, it would not deserve to be called ancient thunder flame. On this day, a light suddenly appeared on Zi-Chen's body. Following that, a powerful aura fluctuation spread out from his body. After cultivating for an entire year, he opened his eyes and stretched out his finger. A force appeared at the tip of his finger. It was like a flame with countless streaks of lightning swimming on its surface. This was the ancient thunder flame. As soon as it appeared, there was an additional pressure in the air. It was as if a door that had been sealed for countless years had opened, and an ancient aura had descended upon the world. This was the result of Zi-Chen's year of bitter cultivation. He had finally evolved the first ancient thunder flame power. Cheng Ho raised his head and looked forward with a hint of surprise in his eyes. According to his estimation, Zi-Chan would need at least 2 years to successfully condense the first ancient thunder flame power. He did not expect that it would only take a year. Everything was difficult at the beginning. The first ancient thunder flame was extremely difficult to form, but once the first strand of power appeared, everything else would be much easier. Zi-Chan stood up. He was in a pretty good mood. The power of the ancient thunder flame was indeed extraordinary. Not bad. Cheng Ho nodded at Zi-Chan and said with a smile. Zi-Chan saw Cheng Ho, but did not see Lady Frost. He turned his head and looked around. In this huge space, only the Holy Thunder ancient tree stood tall. Above his head were countless space-time turbulences, crisscrossing and occasionally falling down. Every time this happened, a ray of light would flow out from the Holy Thunder ancient tree, blocking the turbulence. It was like a world barrier, blocking all the turbulence outside. What is this place? Zi-Chin asked the question in his heart. A strange place, Cheng Ho replied. That's it. Zi-Chen looked at him in confusion. What kind of answer was this? Cheng Ho said with a smile, What else? Do I have to tell you that this is the Demon Suppression Sect? We are all gatekeepers. Demon Suppression Sect. Gatekeepers. Zi-Chen seemed to have vaguely guessed something, and his expression changed drastically. Could it be? Zi-Chen was shocked, but he did not know how to respond. That's right. This is the place that leads to the demon world. Cheng Ho pointed at the sky and said, Do you see those turbulences? As long as we can pass through them, we can reach the demon world. How could there be an entrance here? Zi-Chen said in disbelief. Didn't they say that the 3 realms were not connected? Cheng Ho asked, If the 3 realms were not connected, then how did we know about the god and demon races? Zi-Chen froze, not knowing how to answer. Cheng Ho continued to point above. This place is to stop those demon race experts, because they cannot pass through the space-time barrier and will not mistakenly enter this world. As for those weak existences, if they are lucky enough, they can still descend upon the saint spirit world. Of course, the same is true for the god race. Then, in that case, there is another god suppression sect. You really know how to draw inferences from one example. That's right, there is indeed another place. There is also someone overseeing it to stop the god race. In the countless legends of the Saint Spirit world, it was clearly stated that there was no place in this world that led to the god realm and demon realm. The only time the two sides met was in the countless battlefields, but in the end they would only return to their original places. Now, he clearly knew the greatest secret of this world. Then, a thought suddenly appeared in Zi Chen's mind. He asked somewhat excitedly, "If that's the case, then is there a passage that leads to the outside of the three realms?" "What do you mean?" Cheng Ho asked, puzzled. "I once met a race that called themselves the immortal race, but they were very weak and only wanted to return to the immortal world," Zi Chen said. "Or do you also control a passage to the immortal world? Or a passage outside of the three realms?" Cheng Ho looked at Zi Chen with an extremely strange expression. He shook his head and said, "I've never heard of it. There is only the three realms in this world." Zi Chen did not agree with these words back then, because the former Shui should have come from a place outside of the three realms. Also, the mysterious space that the ruler of the immortal city wanted to open was definitely not within the three realms. Unfortunately, no matter how he asked, Cheng Ho said that there was no such thing, which made him feel very helpless. Sister Han seemed to be very easy to talk to, so Zi Chen decided to wait for her to return before asking her. Chapter 36:16. Zi Chen didn't know how powerful Frost Maiden was, but since the two of them were the guardians of the Holy Spirit realm's greatest secret, they should be the most powerful people there. Even a holy venerable could be injured. Zi Chen was shocked. Cheng Ho didn't seem to be surprised at all. He didn't even show any concern on the surface. Frost Maiden's aura was very weak, but it was still much more powerful than Zi Chen's. Her brows were slightly furrowed as if she was enduring some kind of pain. However, after seeing Zi Chen wake up, she seemed to relax a little. "You're injured." Zi Chen looked at Frost Maiden. "It's just a small injury." Han walked under the holy lightning ancient tree, and countless branches began to sway gently. Thousands of specks of light descended from the sky like fireflies. Frost Maiden stood under the tree as countless light dots revolved around her body. Her figure was hazy and beautiful within the light dots. Cheng Ho sat not far away with a grin on his face. It was unknown what he was thinking, but he was almost drooling. That wretched look made Zi Chen shake his head. Frost Maiden was recuperating, so Zi Chen didn't ask about the doubts in his heart. He continued to cultivate and condense the power of the ancient lightning fire. At this moment, he still didn't care about the fire demon power in his heart. Lei Lan returned to the Holy Thunder Clan. This time, the Holy Thunder Clan had reaped great rewards in the immortal realm. She was naturally a great contributor. No one could deny her contributions. In addition, news of Holy Venerable Lei Di's return had already spread, so Lei Lan's status in the Holy Thunder Clan had also risen. However, after Lei Lan returned, she didn't go to the core area to receive her reward. Instead, she went directly to Zi Chen's Tianwu world. This world was still complete, and it was much more prosperous than in her memory. The heaven and earth spirit qi was very abundant, and people came and went in the city. Even holy spirits could be seen everywhere. Sensing the rich spirit qi in this world, Lei Lan's mood relaxed slightly. She came to the core city and planned to stay here for a long time. Suddenly, she heard a voice that was out of place compared to the bustle here. "Where's your ruler? Tell him to come out. Is this how he treats his guests?" "Zi Chen, get the hell out here. I would like to ask, why did the spiritual energy in my room drop by so many levels?" Lei Lan followed the voice and saw a young man cursing at a woman. She had never seen him before, but when I saw that his features were similar to Leijin Hongtian's, I immediately guessed where he came from. "You must have made a mistake, right? We've already upgraded the spiritual energy in your residence several times. How could it possibly weaken?" Zhou Lina, who was standing to the side, explained. "You bitch. Do you think I would lie to you?" Lei Zhenghong said coldly, I am a member of the Lei Zheng family. Why would I bother with you over such a small matter? If you didn't go too far and didn't deal with this matter, would I be so angry? Along the way, many people stopped in their tracks. After hearing Lei Zhenghong's words, their expressions changed. Zichen's matter had already spread far and wide. Many people knew about the grudge between him and the Lei Zheng family. After Zichen disappeared for more than a year, the Lei Zheng family was preparing to make trouble here? Zhou Lina said indifferently, If you feel that you're not used to living here, then I'll return all the Saint crystals I took from you back then. What? Are you trying to drive me away? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Immediately tell Zichen to get the hell out here. I want to reason with him, Lei Zhenghong said angrily. Zhou Lina's lips curled into a mocking smile. If my lord was really here, would Lei Zheng family's young master still dare to speak with such an attitude? You're courting death. Lei Zhenghong's face was filled with anger. He stretched out his hand and slapped Zhou Lina's cheek. Zhou Lina stood there motionless, her eyes fixed on Lei Zhenghong. With a bang, his hand stopped in midair. Another slender hand grabbed his wrist. Courting death, who is it? Lei Zhenghong was enraged as he turned his head and cursed. However, in the next instant, another palm swiftly landed on his face. Bang! Lei Zhenghong's body was sent flying. His cheek immediately became red and swollen, showing a clear handprint. Kill him! After landing on the ground, Lei Zhenghong rubbed his burning cheek and shouted angrily. The two six-star maids by his side also made a move. Lei Lan moved forward, fighting against two opponents. The power of the Saint Lightning kept surging, and a terrifying fluctuation spread out. However, this tyrannical energy only wreaked havoc in a small space and did not cause any damage to other places. Bang! Bang! After a while, the battle ended, and the two maids were sent flying. Lei Lan's figure fell from the sky. After advancing to 5-star, her combat power was naturally much stronger. Moreover, as the only disciple of Saint Lei Di, even if she did not have the terrifying combat power of Zichen, she was definitely not weaker than the other core disciples. Lei Lan's body surged with killing intent. She stared at Lei Zhenghong and said, You're from the Lei Zheng family? That's right. Who are you? How dare you interfere in my business? Lei Zhenghong said coldly. Your lease has expired, so you can get lost now. Lei Lan's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. If you don't get lost, the three of you will die here. Lei Zhenghong's senses were very sharp, so he knew that this was not a threat, but a real killing intent. Since the battle with Zichen, this was the second time he felt such a real killing intent. Moreover, this person clearly did not care about his identity as a member of the Lei Zheng family. I bought this place, so I have the right to live here permanently. Lei Zhenghong immediately said, The right to live here expires today. Either get lost or die. Lei Lan said, Also, after you get lost, tell Lei Zhenghong that this matter with Zichen is not over yet. When Zichen returns, it will be the day of his death. Also, if anyone from the Lei Zheng clan dares to cause trouble here in the future, I will make the Lei Zheng clan pay a heavy price. The people in the distance were silent, but their changing expressions showed that they were also guessing the other party's identity. Zichen was the focus of attention, so there were naturally all kinds of spies in his world. There were always some who knew about Lei Lan's identity. This time, Saint Lei Di returned and seemed to be very dissatisfied with the Lei Zheng family. If the Lei Zheng family repeatedly came to cause trouble, what Lei Lan said today might really come true. There were obviously people from the Lei Zheng family around, so Lei Zhenghong quickly found out about Lei Lan's identity. This shocked him, as he did not expect that Lei Lan was the only disciple of the saint. Therefore, he did not try to use the Lei Zheng family's identity to scare people, but stood up and said, "Since the lease has expired, I will renew it." There was an uproar in the crowd. It was rare to see someone not leaving even after being chased away. "No, get lost." Lei Lan's eyes were even colder. Lei Zhanghongfang could feel the killing intent from Lei Lan, so he had to leave first. However, it was obviously impossible to give up on this place. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.